parallels to militancy and slammed Man, saying that the history is repeating itself. Congress MP from Punjab, Manish Tiwari, had spoken exclusively to India Today, saying that it's unfortunate to see all of this starting once again. Former Punjab Home Minister and Congress MLA Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa dubbed the explosion as a sign of deep communalism. Shiromani Akali Dal Chief Sukhbir Singh Badal said the attack exposed serious security lapses, highlighting once again the worsening law and order situation in Punjab. Chief Minister of Punjab has, however, said strict action is going to be taken. Attackers won't be spared.
It is not appropriate to finger point because the security of Punjab actually involves the security of the nation. Punjab has been at the receiving end of the depredations of Pakistan's policy of leading India with 1,000 cuts since 1975. We paid a very heavy price in blood between 1980 and 1995. Unfortunately, Pakistan just does not let up. So therefore, what we are seeing is probably a new phase in that proxy war, because an RPG attack on the headquarters of the Punjab Police's intelligence is a kind of an open signal by the separatists and the terrorists that they would want to disturb the peace and the communal harmony of Punjab. Therefore, under those circumstances, this is a time to rise above parties and politics. Both the central government and the state government must coordinate. They must bring all elements of national power to bear.
So the end of this edition. For all news and updates, do log on to our website, that's indiatoday.in. You can also download the India Today app. Thank you for watching.
Battery swapping was a real game changer and is a real game changer as we go into other markets, large-scale markets.
You are watching
Berger Easy Clean. No dag, no dhabba, only beautiful walls.
थोड़ा प्यार चाहिए जाने मन गुल बदन मेरी बात मानिए.
You're playing a father in the film.
Yeah.
Has that got you the itch of also thinking of starting a family?
We're always in conversation about our lives. She amazes me. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I think one of my favorite songs of the recent past is Oo Antawa Mama. I go mad when it plays. I watched Dhanush, Allu Arjun, Ram Charan. I'm a great admirer of their craft.
Very good afternoon. You're watching India Today with me, Nabila Jamal, taking you through the top news. First, the headlines. Kashmir Files maker Vivek Agnihotri hits back at Congress's Shashi Tharoor for allegedly mocking genocide of Pandits. Reminds him that his late wife, Sunanda Pushkar, was a Kashmiri Pandit. Khalistani groups rush to claim role for Mohali grenade attack. SFJ's Pannu issues an open threat. Punjab top cop evasive and Khalistan link. Saffron protest at Delhi's Qutub Minar for changing the name to Vishnu stamp. BJP wants roads of capital named after Mughal rulers to be changed with immediate effect. After Shaheen Bagh, Bulldozers' role in Delhi's New Friends Colony and Mangolpuri, BJP's vote bank politics charge says why no protest against drive in New Friends Colony. And Kashmir's butcher who confessed killing Pandits on India Today cameras goes on trial for 32 years after genocide. Bitta Karate's interview by India Today, key trial evidence.
आपने कितने लोगों की जानें ली? यानी आपने इतने सारे लोग मार डाले कि आपको ये भी नहीं याद कि आपने कितने लोग मार डाले?
10-12 हम मारे होंगे.
10-12 की 20?
अब 20 ही मारे.
And Sri Lanka descends into total chaos. Home of several lawmakers set on fire by angry protesters. 5 dead, over 200 injured. Curfew imposed, army deployed in Colombo. Now, the controversial film Kashmir Files, directed by Vivek Agnihotri, is once again in the eye of the storm, mocking the BJP over heaping praises for the film. Congress MP Shashi Tharoor quoted a news article that stated that the movie was banned in Singapore. A big showdown has now escalated when the director of the film, Vivek Agnihotri, hit back at the Congress MP, asking him to stop making fun of Kashmiri Pandits. He further said that Tharoor's late wife, Sunanda Pushkar, was indeed a Kashmiri Pandit herself and that he must show some sensitivity towards her and the community. Lead actor of the film, Anupam Kher, has also hit out at Shashi Tharoor over tweet claiming that Tharoor's callousness towards Kashmiri Hindus' genocide was indeed tragic. The film, which released on 11th of March, sparked a massive debate among political parties. Makers of the film have also been accused of playing fast and loose with facts and portraying a villainized image of Indian Muslims.
This is the tweet which is made after the direction of Congress High Command. Because Congress party has hand in gloves with anti-national forces. This Congress leader Shashi Tharoor came in shelter of anti-nationals. This is very unfortunate that Congress party is dancing on the tone of anti-national forces.
Who presents himself as a champion of free speech, freedom of expression, liberal values. But here they are celebrating, quite hypocritically, a ban on a film that has the courage to expose the truth that took place 32 long years ago. There's also competition in this entire ecosystem, be it the Congress party or the Aam Aadmi party, as to who can mock the plight of Kashmiri Hindus more. On one hand, Aam Aadmi party gets up in assembly and mocks them and laughs at their pain. On the other hand, the Congress party is in a celebratory mode when the film is banned in Singapore. The same film has been released in many destinations, many places without any cuts, and it has done spectacularly well in India as well.
Let me quickly cut across to Sunil G. Bhatt, tracking the story, joining us live for more on that. Sunil, here we're looking at Vivek Agnihotri demanding an apology from Shashi Tharoor for his tweet, calling it callous and disrespectful to his wife Sunanda Pushkar, his late wife, who was also Kashmiri Pandit. What more do we know of this debate and the controversy that's now brewing over this film being banned in Singapore?
Well, Nabila, a massive political war of words has erupted over this issue. On one hand, we have seen that director Vivek Agnihotri and Anupam Kher, who plays an important role in this movie, has also hit out at Congress leader Shashi Tharoor. And on the other hand, we have BJP leaders lashing out at Shashi Tharoor for his insensitive tweet. They have said that the Shashi Tharoor should have been mindful when it came to the plight of Kashmiri Pandits. The BJP leaders have gone on to say that what he has said has the endorsement of the Congress party leadership, and the Congress party must apologize to the Kashmiri Pandits because they have suffered a lot in last 32 years. But Nabila, this can be only viewed as another self-goal by the Congress party. At a time when the Congress party should have been asking questions to the Modi government that what it has done for the displaced Kashmiri Pandits in the last 8 years, it is in a way questioning the movie, because this movie is based on real life incidents. The director may have taken a little bit of artistic liberty in portraying the scenes, but whatever has been shown in the movie are real life incidents. These are not imaginary or fictional stories. The Congress party should have been asking the government about what it has done for the displaced Kashmiri Pandits, what it has done to mitigate their sufferings, but instead it is questioning the movie. So clearly the BJP has got fresh ammunition against the Congress party, and the Congress party is somehow falling into the trap of the Saffron party. Nabila.
Well, now, of course, Agnihotri is asking for an apology from Tharoor, but it seems like Tharoor remains adamant on his stance. Never have we seen Shashi Tharoor backtrack on what he said. Any further action as such that Agnihotri plans on taking for this message that he is, of course, not taken well?
Well, Nabila, Congress party, as I said, that many people are saying that what Shashi Tharoor has said is in a way a self-goal. And the Congress party had so many issues that they can raise at this point of time, even regarding the plight of Kashmiri Pandits. But the Congress party is somehow questioning the movie that has been made on the plight of the Kashmiri Pandits. The movie talks about the ethnic cleansing of the Kashmiri Hindus, how they were persecuted by the terrorists. The Congress party instead is questioning the movie when they should have been asking some important questions to the Modi government. And the BJP also is getting some sort of leverage, because it can now hide its failures, because the way the Congress party is questioning the movie rather than questioning the government, that what the government has done. The movie has been made, it has raised awareness, it has generated awareness across the country, across the world about the plight of Kashmiri Pandits. But the big question remains, what have the successive governments done for the Kashmiri Pandits, including the Modi government?
Right. Sunil, thank you very much for joining us with those details. In fact, we have some big news following up on this. We're looking at a former Indian Foreign Secretary, Kanwal Sibal, who's tweeted with this regard and said, and I quote, "Decision explains why Singapore not invited to US Democracy Summit. Why applaud this censorship? Does Singapore think Hindus not persecuted in Kashmir? Why should Kashmir specific film impact Singapore? Who will disturb social harmony there? Term ongoing conflict invades issue of Islamist terror in Kashmir." This is a quote that's been put out in a tweet by former Indian Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal, tweeting, and I quote, "The decision explains why Singapore not invited to US Democracy Summit." Of course, poking at Singapore banning Kashmir Files in the country. Here we're looking at Congress leaders quoting the ban, saying that this is the same film that Singapore has banned but Indian government has endorsed. Now, following up to that, you have former Indian Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal tweeting, saying that this decision by Kashmir really explains why Singapore is not invited to US Democracy Summit. Says a lot more to that. Gaurav Sawant joining us for more on that. Gaurav, give us an understanding on what exactly the former Indian Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal means while he puts out this tweet condemning Singapore banning Kashmir Files.
So this is, in a way, a clash of narratives. You have a former Union Minister of the Congress Party, somebody who served extensively at the United Nations, who's talking about how Singapore has put restrictions on the Kashmir Files. And Ambassador Kanwal Sibal, India's former Foreign Secretary, he has responded to it by saying that this decision explains why Singapore was not invited to US Democracy Summit, in a way indicating that Singapore is one-party rule. It's hardly a democracy. That's point one. Point two, he's also asking why applaud this censorship if India, talks about, being against censorship, then why applaud censorship? And does Singapore think Hindus are not persecuted in Kashmir? Why should a Kashmir-specific film impact Singapore? Who will disturb social harmony there? Term on ongoing conflict actually evades the issue of radical Islamic terror in Jammu and Kashmir. So, in a way, Ambassador Kanwal Sibal, as former Foreign Secretary of India, is giving the Indian narrative on the Kashmir Files. Because, Nabila, the fact remains, were Kashmiri Pandits massacred in Kashmir or not? Does the Kashmir Files as a movie depict those facts or not? And if it is a depiction of facts, why should that movie be banned is the question that Kanwal Sibal appears to be asking.
All right, Gaurav, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Here's a row over Singapore banning Kashmir Files. Congress leaders now quoting the ban, asking if Singapore has banned, why has Indian government endorsed it? Kashmir Files makers Vivek Agnihotri now demanding an apology from Shashi Tharoor, calling him insensitive. Now, it's big day for probe into Kashmiri Pandit genocide in the 1990s. The trial into murder of one of the first Kashmiri Pandits to be slaughtered by Islamist terrorists begins today in Srinagar. In fact, Satish Teko was allegedly killed by alleged butcher of Kashmir Valley, Bitta Karate, Farooq Ahmed Dar. Bitta Karate had confessed to mass murder of Kashmiri Hindus right on India Today's interview, News Track. In fact, the video from India Today's News Track will be placed as evidence before a Srinagar court in this case. In fact, the victim's family filed a new application through advocate Utsav Bains and supported by activist Vikas Raina to place on record Bitta Karate's shocking video confession that the first Kashmiri Pandit he murdered was Satish Teko.
आपने कितने लोगों की जानें ली? यानी आपने इतने सारे लोग मार डाले कि आपको ये भी नहीं याद कि आपने कितने लोग मार डाले?
10-12 हम मारे होंगे।
10-12 की 20?
अब 20 नहीं
सारे के सारे कश्मीरी पंडित थे कि कोई मुसलमान भी थे उसमें? कितने मुस्लिम कितने कश्मीरी पंडित थे? ज़्यादा कश्मीरी पंडित थे
जी।
क्यों, ऐसा क्यों?
ऊपर से ऑर्डर मिलता था मैंने कहा।
अच्छा, पहला जिस आदमी को पहले आपने जान से मारा वो कौन था?
पहला मर्डर मैंने सतीश को मारा।
सतीश कौन?
सतीश कुमार
टिक्कू कौन था ये?
मुझे ऊपर से मतलब ऑर्डर दिया गया कि उसको हिट करो, मैंने किया।
कौन था ये?
पंडित लड़का।
हमेशा पिस्टल से ही मारते थे या AK-47 से भी मारते थे?
AK-47 से हम सिक्योरिटी वालों पर एक्शन फायरिंग करते थे।
अच्छा, और जब किसी एक आदमी को मारना होता था तो पिस्टल से? तो अकेले जाते थे कि 2-3 आदमी साथ होते थे?
मैक्सिमम मैं अकेला जाता था।
तो नकाब पहनी होती थी आपने?
नकाब के बगैर।
यानी लोग आपको देखते थे कि आप हैं जो जान से मार रहे हैं किसी को?
जी।
लोग पहचानते थे आपको? तो लोगों ने आपको पुलिस के हवाले नहीं किया?
नहीं।
इसका मतलब लोग आपको
लोग साथ देते थे।
अच्छा, कभी ऐसा हुआ कि आपने जिस आदमी को मारना चाहा, आपने कोशिश की लेकिन आप फेल कर गए?
नहीं।
जब भी आपने कोशिश की सफल हुए?
जी, सफल हुए। मैं जिधर निशाना चाहता था लगाना उधर बराबर पहुंच जाता।
जब भी आप किसी का मर्डर करते थे तो क्या हमेशा इशफाक मजीद वानी का ऑर्डर होता था तब करते थे या अपनी मर्जी से भी कर सकते थे?
नहीं, अपनी मर्जी से मैं किसी को नहीं मारता था। ऊपर से ऑर्डर मिलता था, लीडर ऑर्डर देते थे कि
अच्छा, ऑर्डर दे किसी को मार दो, आप मार देते थे?
हाँ जी।
चाहे वो कोई भी हो?
कोई भी हो।
अगर वो कहता कि अपने सगे भाई को जान से मार डालो?
जी, मैं तो मार देता।
अगर वो कहता अपनी माँ को जान से मार डालो?
मैं तो मार देता।
तो ये तो गुलामी से भी बदतर हालत हो गई आपकी।
नहीं, गुलामी कहाँ? मैंने कहा ना, पहले हम जब ज्वाइन करता है कोई लड़का, ज्वाइन होने से पहले वो हालत उठवाते हैं, ये काम है जी। अगर नहीं है तो आप जा सकते हैं।
Now, the Archaeological Survey of India has raised objections to puja being performed by Jammu and Kashmir LG Manoj Sinha at the ancient Martand Surya Temple in South Kashmir's Anantnag district. Jammu and Kashmir LG performed a puja at the ruins of the temple site on Sunday. The puja, attended by Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha, was near the premises of Archaeological Survey of India protected Martand Sun Temple in Anantnag. ASI officials maintain that this was in violation of the rules and the issue has been raised with the district administration. The temple was built by legendary king of Kashmir, Lalitaditya Mukpida, in 8th century, was destroyed by Islamic ruler Sultan Sikandar Butshi Khan in 15th century. Questions are now being raised on banning of puja in a temple raised by Islamic ruler. In fact, former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti slammed Sinha, saying that the head of the state is now brazenly flouting simple rules like performing puja at an ASI protected site, while thousands of Kashmiris are right now jailed on frivolous charges. Meanwhile, we're looking at chorus to change names of historical sites growing in the national capital. Right-wing Hindu groups are now staging a protest near Qutub Minar. They were heard chanting Jai Shri Ram, put forth demands to rename the Qutub Minar to Vishnu Stump. BJP Delhi Chief Adesh Gupta has now written a letter to the NDMC chairman to rename several historical sites and roads like Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are on names of Muslim rulers. Time and again, Saffron Army has demanded to change the name of these sites given by Mughals. Let's take a listen. Reactions coming in on that.
उसके बाद इनकी वो चली है मस्जिद मंदिर तोड़ के हमारे सनातन धर्म की हर एक चीज को इन्होंने तोड़ा है, हर एक चीज पे कब्जा किया है। तो वह कब्जा अब जो है हम नहीं बर्दाश्त करेंगे, हर वो कब्जा वापस लेंगे और अपनी चीज की डिमांड कर रहे हैं। हम उसकी डिमांड नहीं कर रहे, ये तो हमारा धरोहर था, हम धरोहर को वापस मांग रहे हैं। तो उसमें कोई नई बात नहीं होनी चाहिए और कोई हम उनसे कोई छीन नहीं रहे हैं। हमारी चीज है, हमारा नाम टैग वहाँ से हटा के मुगलों ने अपना नेम टैग लगाया है, तो वो गलत किया है। हम पुनः अपना विष्णु स्तंभ को पुनः जीवोद्धार करके और ये जो है आप जिसका नाम ले रहे हैं वो नाम भी।
Well, there you have it. The Saffron Brigade demanding that many of the roads, the prime locations in Delhi, which are named after Mughal rulers, be changed to freedom fighters locally. In fact, they've been demanding this for quite a while, and this time the BJP a team under Adesh Gupta, who's the BJP chief of Delhi, have landed up near Qutub and have been protesting, asking for a name change with immediate effect. The right-wing group now protesting near Qutub Minar, demanding that names of many of the roads like Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are named after Muslim rulers, now be changed with immediate effect. The Saffron Brigade demanding a name change given to these sites by the Mughals. Now, we're looking at a protest that's erupted right in front of Qutub Minar, where many of them under Adesh Gupta, who's the BJP chief in Delhi, have been camping right outside Qutub Minar, protesting with saffron flags, demanding for a name change on many key prime areas of Delhi which are named after Mughal rulers. This chorus only growing to name change of historical sites in the national capital. Right-wing Hindu groups now staging a protest right outside Qutub Minar. They were heard chanting Jai Shri Ram slogans, put forth a demand to rename Qutub Minar to Vishnu Stump. Adesh Gupta has written a letter to NDMC chairman to rename several historical sites and roads like Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are all named after Mughal rulers. In fact, time and again, Saffron Army has now demanded to change the name given to these sites by Mughal kings at one point. Centuries-old names of these historical sites, the BJP, of course, led right-wing groups, many of them asking for a name change with immediate effect. Then you see visuals coming in from right outside Qutub Minar, where a bunch of Saffron Brigade, in fact, a bunch of protesters from, they've been led by the BJP chief, Adesh Gupta. Many of the Saffron groups come together, right-wing groups who are sitting there camping right outside Qutub Minar, asking for a name change. In fact, not asking, protesting. This is a demand put forth by the Saffron Brigade for quite a while now, and it seems like now it's turned into a sit-down protest right outside Qutub Minar, a historical monumental site. Qutub Minar, which is located in mostly the heart of Delhi. Right now, the Saffron Brigade protesting right outside the historical site, asking for an immediate name change, not just of Qutub Minar, but also of several other historical sites and roads, particularly Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, which are all names of Muslim rulers. The Saffron Brigade, time and again, demanding for a name change given by the Mughals centuries ago.
सभी से विद्वत समाज, संत समाज और जितने भी मठाधीश हैं, सबकी तरफ से, इन भारतवासियों की तरफ से यही मांग करते हैं कि जो सनातन की परंपरा है जी, जो सनातनी था, जो ये भारत जिसका प्रमाण इतिहास के पन्नों में आज भी दर्ज है, तो ये अखंड भारत और साथ साथ हिंदू राष्ट्र की जो मांग थी, उसके लिए आज हम यहाँ पर आए हैं। और साथ के साथ जो ये आप पीछे देख रहे हैं, जो कुतुब मीनार को जो बोलते हैं, ये विष्णु मीनार के नाम से, विष्णु स्तंभ के नाम से, क्योंकि यहाँ पर जितने भी देवी देवताओं की मूर्तियां मिली, तो कहीं ना कहीं उस सनातन की जो वो थी, वो सबको तोड़ मोड़ के कहीं ना कहीं मैनिपुलेट करा गया है। ये साक्ष्य राम मंदिर पे भी मिला, ये साक्ष्य बनारस में भी मिला, ये साथ जितने भी पुरानी इमारतें हैं उनको साथ छेड़छाड़ करके मुगल कालीन जो भी शासक रहे, उन्होंने जो है सनातन की जो भी इमारतें थी, जो भी हमारे मंदिर थे, जो भी हमारे मठ थे, सबको बदला गया। तो अब ये बीड़ा उठाया है सभी संत समाज ने, विद्वत समाज ने, कि हम अपनी मांग को मंगवा कर रहेंगे, चाहे कोर्ट में विचाराधीन केस हो। हम किसी भी व्यक्ति विशेष को हानि नहीं पहुंचाना चाहते, उनकी आस्थाओं के साथ खेलना नहीं चाहते, या हम किसी को कोई दुख हो, मगर हम ये चाहते हैं कि जो मेरा प्यारा देश, जो मेरा सनातन की परंपराएं थी, वो दोबारा से लौटे, वो खुशहाली दोबारा से लौटे। तो इसी को लेकर हमने ये बीड़ा उठाया है।
All right, there you have it. You have now a big bunch of Saffron supporters there, all of them protesting right outside the Qutub Minar. Most of them are being detained. The police have just arrived trying to maintain and calm the situation. Many of those protesters who have been led by the BJP chief, Adesh Gupta, they're now being detained as the cops arrive right outside Qutub Minar, detaining many of those who are in sit-down protest, demanding for a name change on all those areas that have names of Mughal rulers that were given centuries ago. Here you have live visuals coming in right from the heart of Delhi, Qutub Minar. Right outside you have saffron-clad men who have been protesting vehemently, asking for a name change. They want Qutub Minar to be changed, the name of Qutub Minar to be changed to Vishnu Stump. BJP Delhi Chief Adesh Gupta has also shot off a letter to the MDMC chairperson to rename several historical sites, including Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane and Tughlaq Lane. Let's take a listen. Adesh Gupta, BJP chief of Delhi, who's leading this protest of the Saffron Brigade, speaking.
आज हमने जो पत्र लिखा है उसमें हमने मांग की कि औरंगजेब रोड, जिसका नाम पहले से ही डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम रोड रख दिया गया है, औरंगजेब लेन जो बची हुई है उसका नाम डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम लेन होना चाहिए। जो अकबर रोड है वो महाराणा प्रताप जी के नाम होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अकबर हमारे देश के लिए कभी आइडियल नहीं हो सकते। हमारे देश की जनरेशन के लिए जो आदर्श है वो महाराणा प्रताप है। ऐसे ही हमने हुमायूं रोड का नाम और तुगलक रोड का नाम बदलकर गुरु गोविंद सिंह रोड, हुमायूं रोड का नाम बदलकर महर्षि वाल्मीकि रोड और खुदीराम बोस रोड बदलकर, ऐसे करके हमने एक महर्षि वाल्मीकि, खुदीराम बोस और जिन्होंने हमारे जो अभी जनरल हुए बिपिन रावत, उनके नाम पर भी एक सड़क का नाम इस लुटियन जोन के अंदर रखा जाए, ताकि आने वाली पीढ़ियां और ये जनरेशन भारत को भारत के वीरों से जाने, ना कि विदेशी आक्रांताओं से जाने।
All right, let me quickly cut across to Sangeet Kumar Ragi, RSS ideologue, joining us on the phone line. Sangeet ji, here we're looking at the Saffron Brigade protesting right outside Qutub Minar in the heart of Delhi, many of them being detained, demanding that those key areas, prime locations, which have names of Mughal rulers given centuries ago, be changed with immediate effect. What is your grouse?
Look, we call it iconography of a nation. The iconography of a nation cannot be symbolized with the foreigners and invaders. Here, in case of Akbar Road, Aurangzeb Road, this is where if you look at the Indian historiography, people always talk about Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Look at the kind of historiography he has escaped in his last speech in the Constituent Assembly. So these are in the categories of invaders. They are not the ones who motivate the younger generation. Number one. Number two, if you go to Qutub Minar, you will be finding that the demolished and disfigured images of gods and goddesses are there all around. So it is very clear that it was a temple where this structure has been created. The temple was destroyed. The destruction was done by the invaders. They were the Islamic iconoclasts, and therefore these historical legacies must be reclaimed. They must be restored to their Hindu primacy. And that is why I stand in support of all these movements, whether it is reclamation of Baba Vishwanath premises, or Sri Krishna premises, or the Vishnu Astambh, which people call it Qutub Minar, but I call it Vishnu Astambh, and so many other places of the country where the invaders had destroyed wherever they went to.
Right, here, while you have naysayers saying that this is an attempt to twist history, if there was, this is an archaeological site, this Qutub Minar has been standing for centuries. It was, in fact, built by Qutub al-Din Aybak. And if this is a piece of history right in the middle of the national capital, should it be touched?
It may be a legacy for those who trace their history and ancestry to the invaders. But the Hindus as such, these structures cannot be, and even if during the last 70 years, under the tutelage of when the Congress party was in power, they never tried to reclaim the lost heritage of this country, this civilizational land. So the Muslim community and the radicals within the Muslim community have been, at ease that the Hindus will not be fighting for such issues. But now I think that the Hindus are awakened to their legacy, Hindus are awakened to their civilizational identity, cultural identity, and doesn't matter who is in power, even if the BJP is not or somebody else. is in power, the Hindu community will not tolerate any such kind of thing. They would
No, but
certainly
this is an attempt that the Saffron Brigade, who is sitting right outside Qutub Minar, are making to change the name of Qutub Minar, which is an archaeological site. Yes, it was built by the Mughal rulers, and it falls right in the heart of Delhi, but it's a piece of history. Not too sure if anyone attaches legacy to it, but it's a piece of history that stands in the national capital. Should it be touched? Should history be rewritten?
Not a piece of history. If it is, then it is a piece of insult to the Hindu community, because the Hindus' temples were destroyed by the invaders.
You're saying that Qutub Minar stands on a Hindu temple site?
Yes, 100%, 200%. Even a blind would go and come to know that this is what it stands for. It is only the liberal mind of the Hindu society which is tolerating the structure. It would have been, had it been in Afghanistan or elsewhere, it would have been demolished long back.
Right, Mr. Sangeet Kumar, appreciate your time. I'm going to quickly cut across to Ratan Sharda, who's an RSS ideologue again, joining us on the phone line. Mr. Ratan, here is a protest by the Saffron Brigade, heavy police deployment right outside Qutub Minar, much commotion there, while protesters who have been led by BJP's Adesh Gupta, demanding for several key areas within the central business district, quite literally of the national capital, like Akbar Road, Tughlaq Road, and most importantly, Qutub Minar's name to be changed. Your take on that?
First of all, Qutubuddin Aibak was not Mughal. I think you said it as a Mughal monument. He was not a Mughal. Point two, that we have been fed myths and history for 70 years, and real history has been continuously called fables and myths. What stops us from doing a thorough archaeological research on all the sites which have a huge presence of Hindu symbols, Hindu iconography? Just a few days back, you saw the pictures in Qutub Minar of Ganpati being upside down in a caged place. So definitely, and Kutul, the mosque there is made of 27 broken Jain Hindu deposits on record. These are all Islamic evidence. And which country in the world celebrates invaders? Tell me, which country, self-respecting country across the world celebrates invaders? The question of renaming a few roads or, calling it Vijayasam can be handled. Vijayasam can be handled only if evidence has been properly scientifically checked. But we refuse to do it. Our so-called great historians, great archaeology people refuse to have fresh archaeological evidence. They refuse to use latest technology and read the other parts of history, even the Islamic evidence, to see what has been actually originally Hindu place and what has been converted to Muslim. That's a wounded civilization. Millions have been killed. Thousands of temples were destroyed. Millions were raped and converted. But we don't even want to talk about that. We want to celebrate people who did it. That is the tragedy of this India. By naming a few roads doesn't solve the problem.
By allowing Qutub Minar to be the name to be retained, you believe that this is a celebration of...
I have not asked to be renamed. I have said go through the evidence. Why are we reluctant to face the evidence? Why do you want to treat Hindu
This is the Saffron Brigade demanding for a name change. That's the question here. They're demanding for the Qutub Minar to be renamed to Vishnu's tomb. Would you back that?
I say you dismiss that demand, but allow evidence search. No, go through the evidence, historical evidence, then you decide what to do. But you don't even want to touch that. You simply call these people as fringe elements. You call these people in a way, stupid people, by saying that what they are asking for is stupidity, or it doesn't require any serious attention. My issue is much bigger. I am saying you dismiss them. But why the historians are afraid of facing the evidence created by Islamic historians themselves?
Have you made an appeal for this? Has there been a long-standing appeal to this?
I say why not have a proper, research, proper evidence sifting, which is available today. But our great historians, master historians, secular Sarkari historians refuse to do it. They are afraid of the truth. But unless you face the bitter truth, you cannot have reconciliation, you cannot have a happy nation, you cannot have a happy society. You cannot force your views down the throat that even the people who actually murdered you, killed you, raped you, actually are benefactors. Why this myth is being continuously fed to us? That is the question. Why are we celebrating invaders, colonizers? We removed British statues. Why can't we remove the people who actually were much more cruel to Indians and others? That is the question you should ask.
Well, Mr. Sharda, you have many areas that have changed names in the recent past under the BJP government. Is there a formal appeal for a demand like this? Qutub Minar is a historical site that falls under archaeological department. There is a legal process to it. Instead of camping right outside and protesting vehemently with police deployment creating chaos, is there a formal appeal that the groups have made to the government?
Should be, if I have a voice, I will make a formal appeal to go through the historical evidence, check out every kind of archaeological possibility of what this place exactly is. There are signs, telltale signs on the Qutub Minar that these are superimposed. It has been accepted by the Mughal writers themselves. But we don't want to see it. We want to keep our eyes closed. We want to celebrate our invaders. We want to celebrate our rapists. And then we say we should be happy. Ganga, Jamuni, Tehzeeb. Ganga, Jamuna are both Hindu rivers. Both come together, become Ganga. But we want to keep Ganga, Jamuna separate. That is the tragedy. We live on myths. We want to put band-aid where there are deep wounds. Why can't we Truth and Reconciliation Commission and solve these issues once for all?
Well, you know, one would look at it that this was part of history. History has already been written. One can't change what has happened. At a point like this, trying to reclaim what happened in the past, is this not an attempt to completely twist history around and make it the way you want to?
Every nation goes for truth and reconciliation. Tell me one world nation in the world where it has not been done. We know the extent of twisting the fact when Turkey renamed the museum as Hagia Sophia Mosque. Did anybody raise a voice? When US people, the Europeans are ready to reconcile and face the truth that they have done atrocious behavior with blacks and Native Americans, why can't we? Unless we accept the mistakes of the history, how do we reconcile? That is my question. This is just a small matter. I am not saying
is there an attempt to retain any part of history instead of a complete overhaul? Is there an attempt to retain any part of history instead of a complete overhaul? You're saying that that two communities must walk together. In that case, from what we see here, they want the demand is for a complete name change, complete destruction of some of the mosques that you also mentioned because it falls on Hindu temples. So you want there to be a complete overhaul?
You are making again a mistake. This is not a question of two communities. Two Indian Muslims belong to Arab
since you mentioned Ganga, Jamuna, Tehzeeb, that's where I come from.
Who has invented this term? Who has invented the term? Is the Indian Muslim in any way connected to Mughals or Turks or Mongols? In how much it is connected? Tell me that. So why do we create any historical issue into Hindu-Muslim issue? That is my question. And then you try to call it Ganga, Jamuni, Tehzeeb in what name?
And there's also mosques there that stands close.
Sufferers. See, Indian Muslims also sufferers for the same atrocity. They converted, others didn't convert. But that doesn't mean that they belong to the Mongol or Turk race. By saying so, we are reducing their importance in the history of India.
But there are mosques there. That is certainly sentimental to the Muslims.
So that mosque was created by destroying 27 temples. Once that is accepted, and those evidences are shown, as I said, Ganpati is lying upside down in a cage. How do I feel when I go to Qutub Minar, madam? How do I feel? What is the iron pillar? Why we refuse to accept that this iron pillar, the rustless iron...
Right, Mr. Sharda, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. I'm going to quickly cut across to Aishwarya, who's right there at the site where we see much chaos and many of them being detained from that protest site. Let's take a look.
One more monument and one more demand to rename it. Qutub Minar should now be renamed as Vishnu Stambh. This is what Hindu right-wing organizations are now demanding. We'll ask them what is it that they want from the government and why do they want the renaming of the iconic Qutub Minar. आपकी जो मांग है वो ये है कि विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए पुनः, क्योंकि अगर पुनः घोषित नहीं करेंगे तो हम लोग इसी तरह आगे आके आंदोलन करते रहेंगे, हनुमान चालीसा की बात चलती रहेगी। आप क्या प्रधानमंत्री को भी चिट्ठी लिखेंगे? बिल्कुल, प्रधानमंत्री के पास भी विज्ञप्ति लेके जा रहे हैं हम और उनको आज सौंपेंगे। So this is what these people are saying. They want Qutub Minar to be renamed as Vishnu Stambh. The protest that you see behind me, the saffron flags that you are seeing being raised very close to the Qutub Minar, just 500 meters from the iconic monument. Chants are being raised to rename Qutub Minar as Vishnu Stambh. Banners have been put up.
धर्मेंद्र बेदी यूनाइटेड हिंदू फ्रंट दिल्ली का अध्यक्ष, हमारी ये मांग है जो अंदर विष्णु स्तंभ है उसको विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए। उसके अंदर जो नीचे मूर्तियां दबी हुई हैं उन मूर्तियों को निकाला जाए। जो अंदर खंडित मूर्तियां हैं उन मूर्तियों को भी विधिवत रूप से हिंदू मूर्तियों को स्थापित किया जाए। जो बाहर बोर्ड लगा हुआ है साई जैन मंदिरों को तोड़कर कुतुब मीनार को बनाया, ये कुतुब मीनार नहीं है। इतिहास में बच्चों को गलत पढ़ाया जा रहा है। ये विक्रमादित्य ने इसका निर्माण किया था, विष्णु स्तंभ के नाम से इसकी घोषणा की जाए। और दूसरी बात,
what it should be called as is Vishnu Stamp. In fact, what these the protesters at the moment are claiming is that there are many idols, many Hindu idols inside Qutub Minar. Everything should be brought out and the name should be changed to Vishnu Stamp. With camera person Kripal Singh, this is Aishwarya Paliwal reporting for India Today.
All right, that was Aishwarya Paliwal. Remember, we're looking at much commotion right outside Qutub Minar. The protests there growing over a name change, considering allegations that Qutub Minar was built on a temple site and there are several idols that still reside beneath all that construction of Qutub Minar, and therefore a protest has been launched by the Saffron Brigade led by Adesh Gupta, BJP Chief of Delhi. As we're going to continue tracking those developments, coming up on the other side of a short break here, Khalistani groups rush to claim role for Mohali grenade attack. More details up next.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today.
When I reached, there was no one except my Sherpa. So I just say, yeah, I reached on a summit because I don't want to waste my energy. made my decision very clear that I have to maintain my career. Like, I'm a science student, so I'm working as a research associate, and my passion is climbing. So I have decided that one mountain, 1 year. Everest is one thing, and climbing financial Everest is one thing.
All right, now Punjab is on high alert after a rocket-propelled grenade hit a police intelligence wing headquarters in Mohali last evening. A day after the attack, banned Khalistani outfits leader Pannu has issued a threat message to Himachal Chief Minister, warning that he must take a lesson from Mohali attack. Pannu's father said that this attack could have taken place in Shimla police headquarters. Pannu's warning comes after Khalistani flag was seen hanging at the Himachal Assembly Gate on Sunday. Mohali police has now picked nearly a dozen suspects for questioning. They're being questioned at an undisclosed location. NIA team has visited the attack site midnight to take stock and is all set to send another team today. Investigation is on in the Mohali grenade attack to see if this was indeed a terror attack.
कल जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है यहाँ पर इंटेलिजेंस हेडक्वार्टर में, उसको लेके आज हमने एक मीटिंग की है। इंटेलिजेंस के ऑफिसर हैं और जिला पुलिस के एसएसपी साहब और डीआईजी साहब हैं। इस केस को फेस करने के लिए हम लोग पूरे एफर्ट्स कर रहे हैं। हमारे पास लीड हैं और जल्दी ही हम इस केस को सॉल्व कर लेंगे।
कल रात जो मोहाली ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਟਨਾ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, मैं डीजीपी साहब ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ इंटेलीजेंस के अफसर ਨਾਲ मीटिंग ਲਈ है और सारा डिटेल ਜਿਹੜੀ है वो निकल रही है और गिरफ्तारियां कुछ हो भी गई, कुछ हो जाएंगियां ਤੇ जड़ां तक पहुंच जाएंगे। ਤੇ मैं यही बार बार कहना चाਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਰੀਏ कि जिन्हें भी पंजाब का माहौल को खराब करने की कोशिश की थी वो बख्शिया नहीं जाऊगा, सख्त तो सख्त सज़ा मिलूगी। उन्होंने कई पीढ़ियां याद रखणगियां कि असी पंजाब जिहड़ा हसदा वसदा पंजाब है उन्होंने तोड़ने की कोशिश की सी ते सख्त तो सख्त सज़ा मिलूगी।
Now, the Sri Lankan crisis only deepened on Monday, pushing the entire country to the brink of a civil war. Homes of several sitting and former ministers, members of parliament and mayors have been set on fire by protesters. The house of Sri Lanka's former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who put in his papers just yesterday, was entirely set on fire. Rajapaksa left his official residence, Temple Trees, early this morning after military cleared the protesters off. The government has now imposed a nationwide curfew until Wednesday. Despite the curfew being in effect, anti-government protesters have now lined up all along the streets leading to the international airport in an attempt to block any ministers leaving the country. 7 people are dead, over 222 are presently seeking treatment for injuries from yesterday's clashes. One ruling party MP was killed during the protest. Now the pressure is on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign after the resignation of his brother. Sri Lanka has now been propelled into crisis after decades of economic mismanagement, which only worsened under the control of Rajapaksas. Now, Sri Lanka has over $4 billion of foreign debt, with its foreign reserves completely dried up.
Sri Lanka protesters are still out on the road. They are in full force and they are demanding that the president step down as well as this government to go home. So things haven't eased up at all. If not, it's just more tense. We have more angry protesters on the road. Security has been heightened as well throughout Colombo. And I'm told that there are so many protesters who are lined up close to, the airport, who are preventing people from checking vehicles to see if there are ruling members of this government who are trying to flee the country. So things are very much unstable and very tense right now.
Now, former Sri Lankan cabinet minister and cricket captain Arjun Ranatunga exclusively speaks to India Today's Ashutosh Mishra pertaining to the ongoing crisis. Arjun claims that the issue started and was staged by the Rajapaksa government. They resigned too late.
What is the situation that you are seeing in Colombo, in the island country?
I think it was a highly unwanted situation created by the Prime Minister who resigned yesterday. These protesters, these peaceful protesters have been protesting for almost 1 month without any violence. I think we all like the way they handle things. And unfortunately, last morning, President has invited some of his party supporters, MPs, ministers, and there were a fairly big crowd came to the temple, that is the Prime Minister's office and the home, and they started talking about it. And unfortunately, it came to a stage where they were provoked by some of the ministers, even the Prime Minister, and that is where the incident started. These people who were supposed to be after alcohol went towards almost like a kilometer, maybe 1.5 kilometers from the temple trees to the protest area, that is at the golf face. And they started attacking the innocent people, innocent protesters. And they started attacking the ladies, the priests, the people who were innocently protesting. They started attacking. That is where the entire country walked into the roads and started this particular issue. Ultimately, the president, after that, he left, but he left, put fire into the entire country. I think he and the ministers who provoked these people should take the blame on this issue.
Mr. Ranatunga, I would recall that in the last month when I visited Colombo, in the interview you had anticipated there could be some foul play, some mischief by the state actors or the non-state actors where they could disrupt the peaceful protest. Now, do you see it was a design, it was done at the behest of the government, or you see it was the spontaneous reaction, the clashes between supporters and the protesters?
No, it was properly planned. I think the president has requested the Prime Minister to step down last afternoon. Before that, he got his supporters, who are the provincial council, town council, MPs, who were government loyalty politicians. And they were the ones who came into this particular meeting. And from there, they created them to go into the protest area. Even some of the ministers walked into the protest area. That is where it didn't go right. I think this is where this entire issue started. When the president wanted the Prime Minister to step down, Prime Minister brought his most of the supporters and asked them whether he should resign. Then everyone said not to resign. So it was all planned things organized by some of the ministers who has ruined this country and started provoking them to go into the unwanted area. And I'll tell you something else. I blame the police and the forces for that as well. They could have easily stopped them coming into the protest area. We have seen a lot of protests happening near the parliament. They started attacking water guns, and even tear gas was attacked. But this particular thing, they allowed them to walk towards them. I think it was a highly planned thing. And I blame the police, I blame the forces. They should have easily stopped this thing. This entire thing was planned by most probably the government, but supported by the police and the forces as well.
All right, India Today continues to track all the crises unfolding in Sri Lanka. But for now, it's a wrap on this edition of the Bulletin. For the news and updates, you could log on to indiatoday.in. You could also download our app for more. Stay tuned. I'm going to come back with the top headlines.
The South African scientists who identified Omicron late last year have now reported 2 more Omicron subvariants, BA4 and BA5.
You are watching
can make NFTs of all the monuments we have, and we can create those NFTs, and we can actually create an NFT of Taj Mahal, and just imagine what hype it will have. And Taj Mahal can be bought as an NFT without giving the ownership right of the Taj Mahal, obviously. Taj Mahal, Lal Killa in the metaverse. So imagine in the country today, we only get 300 crores from all these monuments, from tourism. Imagine if we put all these monuments on metaverse through NFTs, we can earn another 300 crores in there. In India, 25% of the Supreme Court cases, are of land disputes. Imagine if you can put all these land records through NFT, these disputes will come down and a lot of important time of the courts will be saved.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
Presented by Berger Easy Clean. No dog, no dhabba, only beautiful walls.
watching India Today with me, Nabila Jamal, taking you through the top news. First, the headlines. Kashmir Files maker Vivek Agnihotri hits back at Congress's Shashi Tharoor for allegedly mocking genocide of Pandits. Reminds him that his late wife, Sunanda Pushkar, was a Kashmiri Pandit. Khalistani groups rush to claim role for Mohali grenade attack. SFJ's Pannu issues open threat. Punjab top cop evasive on Khalistan link. Saffron protest at Delhi's Qutub Minar for changing its name to Vishnu Stump. BJP wants roads of capital named after Mughal rulers to be changed. Kashmir's butcher who confessed killings of Kashmiri Pandit on India Today cameras goes on trial 32 years after genocide. Bitta Karate's interview by India Today Group, a key trial now in the evidence.
आपने कितने लोगों की जानें ली? यानी आपने इतने सारे लोग मार डाले कि आपको ये भी नहीं याद कि आपने कितने लोग मार डाले?
10-12 हम मारे होंगे।
10-12 की 20?
अब 20 ही
Sri Lanka descends into total chaos. Home of several lawmakers set on fire by angry protesters. 5 dead, over 200 injured. Curfew imposed. Army deployed in Colombo. Santur Mistro Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma passes away at the age of 84 due to a cardiac arrest. Prime Minister Modi mourns the loss, says cultural world is poorer with his demise. Here's some big breaking news on the Punjab terrorist strike at the police headquarters. The ISIS Burn Punjab strategy has been unmasked. The ISI formed a terrorist group with a new name for terrorist incidents in Punjab. ISI launches Lashkar-e-Khalsa terror group. This is information coming in from our sources. A big development. Remember, we saw a rocket-propelled grenade attack at a police headquarters in Mohali. And right after, we saw a Khalistani group coming forward to stake claim of this attack. But now, it seems like this Punjab terror surge and ISI Burn Punjab strategy has been unmasked. ISI formed a terrorist group with a new name for terrorist incidents in Punjab called the ISI Lashkar-e-Khalsa terror group. Arvind Ojha joining us live for more on that. Ojha, यहाँ पर जो ग्रेनेड अटैक हुआ है मोहाली पे पुलिस हेडक्वार्टर्स पे, there are different groups trying to stake claim. First, we assume that this was a Khalistani group that tried to claim this terror strike. But now we hear the ISI's involvement, where we believe that ISI has launched a group called Lashkar-e-Khalsa to carry out terror strikes across Punjab.
देखिए, जो नबीला मोहाली में जो अटैक हुआ है वो एकदम क्लियर कट टेरर एक्ट है और सीधा सीधा आईएसआई का उसमें जुड़ा हाथ है। लेकिन इंडिया टुडे को इंटेलिजेंस अलर्ट की एक कॉपी मिली है, खासकर पंजाब को लेकर जिसमें बात की गई है। उसमें ये बताया गया है कि दरअसल आईएसआई जो पंजाब के गैंगस्टर हैं, पंजाब के बाहर रह रहे हैं, उनके साथ मिलकर पंजाब को दहलाने के लिए लश्कर-ए-खालसा नाम का एक ग्रुप बना रही है। और सबसे बड़ी चिंता की बात यह है कि उस लश्कर-ए-खालसा ग्रुप में अफगानी जो लड़ाके हैं उनको भी शामिल किया गया है और उनको आरपीजी जो कल मोहाली में जिस तरह का अटैक हुआ है आरपीजी से, वो आरपीजी चलाने की भी ट्रेनिंग दी गई है। तो ये अपने आप में काफी चौंकाने वाला खुलासा है और वो अलर्ट की कॉपी भी इंडिया टुडे के पास है, जिसमें ये बाकायदा बताया गया है कि किस तरीके से सोशल मीडिया के जरिए जो पंजाब के लड़के हैं उनको रेडिकलाइज किया जा रहा है, साथ ही साथ ड्रग्स का लालच भी दिया जा रहा है। न सिर्फ ड्रोन के जरिए पाकिस्तान से हथियार और तमाम चीजें एक्सप्लोसिव आ रहे हैं, बल्कि ड्रग भी आता है, जिसको जो लड़के हैं ड्रग को बेचकर पैसे कमाते हैं और जो हथियार है उसकी सप्लाई करते हैं। लगातार इस तरह लेकर तमाम खुलासे होते रहे, लेकिन अभी जो इंटेलिजेंस अलर्ट की कॉपी इंडिया टुडे के पास है उसके मुताबिक लश्कर-ए-खालसा नाम का एक फॉर्म किया है आईएसआई ने, जिसमें लोकल गैंगस्टर पंजाब के जो पंजाब से बाहर हैं, चाहे वो जर्मनी में है चाहे पाकिस्तान में है, उनकी मदद से ये ग्रुप बनाया जा रहा है। इसमें सोशल मीडिया की मदद ली जा रही है और इनमें अफगान जो लड़ाके हैं उनको भी शामिल किया गया है। और आरपीजी चलाने की उनको ट्रेनिंग भी दी जा रही है। तो यहाँ पे काफी चौंकाने वाला खुलासा है नबीला
जी। ओझा, यहाँ पर पंजाब पुलिस ने कुछ खुलासा किया है। ये पंजाब पुलिस ने अभी तक एस्टैब्लिश नहीं किया है कि ये किसकी करतूत है, तो पुलिस क्या कह रही है? हैव दे confirmed on any of this information that we get?
देखिए, पंजाब पुलिस ने अभी तक कोई खुलासा नहीं किया है, लेकिन इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज लगातार मिला है, उसमें भी खुलासा हुआ है कि पाकिस्तान में बैठा हुआ जो खालिस्तानी आतंकी हरविंदर सिंह रिंदा, उसने ड्रोन के जरिए ये जो तमाम आईईडी है वो भिजवाए थे। और ये कोई पहली बात नहीं है, पंजाब में लगातार आईईडी रिकवर हो रही है अलग अलग इलाकों से। मोहाली पुलिस अलग से भले ही जांच करे, लेकिन जिस तरीके से आरपीजी से फायर किया गया है वो साफ बताता है कि ये एक टेरर स्ट्राइक है, ये एक आतंकी घटना है और बहुत चिंता की बात भी है। मैं आपको बताऊं, भले खुलासा पंजाब पुलिस बाद में करे, लेकिन आरपीजी से फायर होना ये बहुत चिंता की बात है और कहीं न कहीं बड़ा इंटेलिजेंस फेलियर भी है। हालांकि इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रही है और पंजाब पुलिस दावा कर रही है कि वो जल्द इस मामले का खुलासा करेंगे। कई बयान भी लिए जा रहे हैं, कई लोगों को डिटेन भी किया है, खुलासा नहीं हुआ है। लेकिन उन सबके बीच ये कोई पहली बार नहीं है, लगातार इंडिया टुडे भी इस तरह के खुलासे करता रहा है इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसियों के हवाले से कि पंजाब में बड़े पैमाने पर जो यूथ है उनको रेडिकलाइज किया जा रहा है और इसके लिए सहारा लिया जा रहा है। जो पंजाब से फरार गैंगस्टर है, चाहे वो जर्मनी में हो, चाहे वो लंदन में हो, चाहे वो पाकिस्तान में हो, उनके जरिए, और न सिर्फ आपका आईईडी, न सिर्फ एक्सप्लोसिव, बल्कि ड्रोन के जरिए ड्रग्स भी भिजवाई जा रही है। और ये खुलासा करनाल में जो पकड़े गए टेररिस्ट थे जिनके पास से आईईडी रिकवर हुआ था, उन्होंने भी किया था। और इंडिया टुडे ने 2 दिन पहले ये रिपोर्ट भी किया था कि किस तरीके से पाकिस्तान से जो कंसाइनमेंट आया था, वो जो करनाल में 3 टेररिस्ट पकड़े गए थे, उन्होंने तरन तारण पंजाब हाईवे पर रखा था, नांदेड़ हैदराबाद हाईवे पर रखा था और करनाल में पकड़े गए थे जब तेलंगाना में रखे गए थे। तो न सिर्फ पाकिस्तान से जो एक्सप्लोसिव है वो पंजाब आ रहा है, बल्कि पंजाब से अलग अलग स्टेट में भी सप्लाई हो रहा है।
What we see here is a role of Pakistan. ISI now launching a burn Punjab strategy with a new outfit, as per sources, called Lashkar-e-Khalsa terror group to unleash terror attacks on Punjab. In fact, we're looking at this case only intensifying, with the police now trying to further intensify its probe into the terror angle of this case. All right, now Punjab is indeed on high alert after this rocket-propelled grenade attack hitting the police headquarters, intelligence wing of the police headquarters in Mohali just last evening. A day after the attack, banned Khalistani outfit, the leader Pannu issued a threat message to Himachal Chief Minister, warning that he must take a lesson or two from Mohali attack. Pannu further said that that this attack could have been taken place even in Shimla police headquarters. Pannu's warning comes after Khalistani flag was seen hanging at the Himachal Assembly Gate on Sunday. Not just banned Sikh outfits, Pannu, there's proof of Pakistan hand also in this Punjab terror surge, as we see. Sources tell India Today that ISI has now unleashed a burn Punjab strategy. ISI has come up with this Lashkar-e-Khalsa terror outfit only to create more tensions and unleash attacks in Punjab. NIA team, meanwhile, visited the attack site midnight to take stock, is all set now to send another team today as well. Investigation is on in the Mohali grenade attack to see if at all this is a terror angle, which now increasingly looks like.
कल जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है यहाँ पर इंटेलिजेंस हेडक्वार्टर में, उसको लेके आज हमने एक मीटिंग की है। इंटेलिजेंस के ऑफिसर हैं और जिला पुलिस के एसएसपी साहब और डीआईजी साहब हैं। इस केस को फेस करने के लिए हम लोग पूरे एफर्ट्स कर रहे हैं। हमारे पास लीड हैं और जल्दी ही हम इस केस को सॉल्व कर लेंगे।
कल रात जो मोहाली ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਟਨਾ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਡੀਜੀਪੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਅਫਸਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਸਾਰਾ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਨਿਕਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਵੀ ਗਈਆਂ, ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਜੜਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਜਾਾਂਗੇ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹੀ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਰੀਏ ਕਿ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਸਖਤ ਤੋਂ ਸਖਤ ਸਜ਼ਾ ਮਿਲੂਗੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਈ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਣਗੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੱਸਦਾ ਵਸਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੋੜਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਸਖਤ ਤੋਂ ਸਖਤ ਸਜ਼ਾ ਮਿਲੂਗੀ।
On my left side is the white structure. This is the headquarters of the Punjab Intelligence Bureau, and if we move the camera towards a bus which can be seen parked in front of this building, and the extreme left is the place from where the rocket propelled grenade RPG was fired. The distance is nearly 100 meters from this building. So the Punjab's highly sensitive and highly protected building is also on the target of the anti-social elements that they have yet to be identified. Police has registered FIR against unidentified persons who are involved in this incident. The investigations will reveal the faces behind this incident and the motive, whether the Khalistani outfits are behind this incident or it has been caused by the gangsters and other anti-social elements. What is the motive? It will be clear after the investigations are over. With camera person Aman Gupta, this is Manjeet Sehgal in Mohali for India Today.
Now, politics has erupted over attack on Punjab Police Intel office in Mohali. While condemning the attack, opposition leaders took to the Mann government for the intelligence failure. Punjab Congress drew parallels to militancy and slammed Bhagwant Mann and his government, saying that the history is repeating itself. Congress leader Manish Tiwari said that it's unfortunate to see all of this starting all over again. Former Punjab Home Minister and Congress MLA Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa dubbed this explosion as a sign of deep communalism. Shiromani Akali Dal chief Sukhbir Singh Badal has said that the attack exposed serious security lapses and highlighted once again the deteriorating law and order situation in Punjab. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann has, however, said that this strike, or rather this investigation into this case, will be taken with strict action. Attackers will not be spared.
जैसे आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार आई, जो घटनाएं हम जम्मू कश्मीर के पूंछ में और राजौरी में सुनते थे कभी, जो अब बंद हो गई हैं ऑलमोस्ट, वो पंजाब में मोर्टार दागे जा रहे हैं। और जिस बिल्डिंग पे दागे जा रहे हैं वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बिल्डिंग है। वहां से बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट और लोगों को मतलब एक जो ऐसी गोपनीय चीजें होती हैं उस जगह पे मोर्टार दागे गए हैं। ये तो इसकी चिंता अगर आज नहीं करेगा, देश नहीं करेगा, पंजाब नहीं करेगा, दिल्ली नहीं करेगी, तो इन लोगों का जो चेहरा दिख रहा है अरविंद केजरीवाल जी का, वो तो बहुत ही कुरूप और भयानक चेहरा दिखा रहे हैं, जो देश के लिए सुरक्षा से जुड़ी चीजों के लिए बड़ा खतरा है।
मैं चिंतित हूं, ये चिंता का विषय है, इसको दरकिनार नहीं किया जा सकता। और मैं तो ये चाहूँगा कि पंजाब और केंद्र सरकार का इस मसले पर समन्वय हो, ताकि अगर आतंकवादी गतिविधियाँ बढ़ने का आसार उनका दिख रहा है तो केंद्र सरकार और राज्य सरकार मिलकर उस पर नियंत्रण पाए।
पंजाब में मोहाली ब्लास्ट नफरत फैलाने की और डर फैलाने की एक कोशिश है। आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार, भगवंत मान जी की सरकार पंजाब का अमन चैन कायम करने के लिए पूरी तरीके से प्रतिबद्ध है, और जो भी पंजाब का अमन चैन और शांति बिगाड़ने की कोशिश करेगा, शांति भंग करने की कोशिश करेगा, उसकी जगह जेल के सीचों के पीछे है।
Now, big chorus to change names of historical sites and key roads in Delhi has only grown louder. Many areas which has names after Mughal rulers and sultans, right-wing groups now staging a protest demanding a name change. They all sat down in Dharna right outside the Qutub Minar, demanding its renaming of from Qutub Minar to Vishnu Stump, saying that the original structure by Hindu kings were razed down. Protesters chanted Hanuman Chalisa, Hindu religious text, at the Qutub Minar. Several of the protesters were detained by the Delhi police. BJP, meanwhile, pushed for changing the roads' names after Mughal rulers, pushing for name change after Hindu and Sikh icons like Maharana Pratap and Guru Gobind Singh. BJP Delhi Chief Adesh Gupta written a letter now to the NDMC seeking changes of names of Akbar Road, Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane and Tughlaq Lane.
One more monument and one more demand to rename it. Qutub Minar should now be renamed as Vishnu Stambh. This is what Hindu right-wing organizations are now demanding. We'll ask them what is it that they want from the government and why do they want the renaming of the iconic Qutub Minar. आपकी जो मांग है वो है कि विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए पुनः, क्योंकि अगर पुनः घोषित नहीं करेंगे तो हम लोग इसी तरह आगे आके आंदोलन करते रहेंगे, हनुमान चालीसा की बात चलती रहेगी। आप क्या प्रधानमंत्री को भी चिट्ठी लिखेंगे? बिल्कुल, प्रधानमंत्री के पास भी विज्ञप्ति लेके जा रहे हैं हम और उनको आज सौंपेंगे। So this is what these people are saying. They want Qutub Minar to be renamed as Vishnu Stambh. The protest that you see behind me, the saffron flags that you are seeing being raised very close to the Qutub Minar, just 500 meters from the iconic monument. Chants are being raised to rename Qutub Minar as Vishnu Stambh. Banners have been put up.
धर्मेंद्र बेदी यूनाइटेड हिंदू फ्रंट दिल्ली का अध्यक्ष, हमारी ये मांग है जो अंदर विष्णु स्तंभ है उसको विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए, उसके अंदर जो निजी मूर्तियां दबी हुई है उन मूर्तियों को निकाला जाए, जो अंदर खंडित मूर्तियां हैं उन मूर्तियों को भी विधिवत तरीके से हिंदू मूर्तियों को स्थापित किया जाए। जो बाहर बोर्ड लगा हुआ है शाही जैन मंदिरों को तोड़कर कुतुब मीनार को बनाया, ये कुतुब मीनार नहीं है। इतिहास में बच्चों को गलत पढ़ाया जा रहा है। ये विक्रमादित्य ने इसका निर्माण किया था, विष्णु स्तंभ के नाम से इसकी घोषणा की जाए। और दूसरी बात,
what it should be called as is Vishnu Stambh. In fact, what these the protesters at the moment are claiming is that there are many idols, many Hindu idols inside Qutub Minar. Everything should be brought out and the name should be changed to Vishnu Stambh. With camera person Kripal Singh, this is Shwara Paliwal reporting for India Today.
सभी से विद्वत समाज, संत समाज और जितने मठाधीश हैं सबकी तरफ से, इन भारतवासियों की तरफ से यही मांग करते हैं कि जो सनातन की परंपरा है जी, जो सनातनी था, जो ये भारत जिसका प्रमाण इतिहास के पन्नों में आज भी दर्ज है, तो ये अखंड भारत और साथ साथ हिंदू राष्ट्र की जो मांग थी उसके लिए आज हम यहाँ पर आए हैं। और साथ के साथ जो ये आप पीछे देख रहे हैं, जो कुतुब मीनार को जो बोलते हैं, ये विष्णु मीनार के नाम से, विष्णु स्तंभ के नाम से, क्योंकि यहाँ पर जितने भी देवी देवताओं की मूर्तियां मिली तो कहीं ना कहीं उस सनातन की जो वो थी वो सबको तोड़ मोड़ के कहीं ना कहीं मैनिपुलेट करा गया है। ये साक्ष्य राम मंदिर पे भी मिला, ये साक्ष्य बनारस में भी मिला, ये साथ जितने भी पुरानी इमारतें हैं उनको साथ छेड़छाड़ करके मुगलकालीन जो भी शासक रहे उन्होंने जो है सनातन की जो भी इमारतें थी, जो भी हमारे मंदिर थे, जो भी हमारे मठ थे, सबको बदला गया। तो अब ये बीड़ा उठाया है सभी संत समाज ने, विद्वत समाज ने कि हम अपनी मांग को मंगवा कर रहेंगे, चाहे कोर्ट में विचाराधीन केस हो। हम किसी भी व्यक्ति विशेष को हानि नहीं पहुंचाना चाहते, उनके आस्थाओं के साथ खेलना नहीं चाहते या हम किसी को कोई दुख हो, मगर हम ये चाहते हैं कि जो मेरा प्यारा देश, जो मेरा सनातन की परंपराएं थी वो दोबारा से लौटे, वो खुशहाली दोबारा से लौटे। तो इसी को लेकर हमने ये बीड़ा उठाया है।
आज हमने जो पत्र लिखा है उसमें हमने मांग की कि औरंगजेब रोड, जिसका नाम पहले से ही डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम रोड रख दिया गया है, औरंगजेब लेन जो बची हुई है उसका नाम डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम लेन होना चाहिए। जो अकबर रोड है वो महाराणा प्रताप जी के नाम होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अकबर हमारे देश के लिए कभी आइडियल नहीं हो सकते। हमारे देश की जनरेशन के लिए जो आदर्श है वो महाराणा प्रताप है। ऐसे ही हमने हुमायूं रोड का नाम और तुगलक रोड का नाम बदलकर गुरु गोविंद सिंह रोड, हुमायूं रोड का नाम बदलकर महर्षि वाल्मीकि रोड और खुदीराम बोस रोड बदलकर, ऐसे करके हमने एक महर्षि वाल्मीकि, खुदीराम बोस और जिन्होंने हमारे जो अभी जनरल हुए बिपिन रावत, उनके नाम पर भी एक सड़क का नाम इस लुटियन जोन के अंदर रखा जाए, ताकि आने वाली पीढ़ियां और ये जनरेशन भारत को भारत के वीरों से जाने, ना कि विदेशी आक्रांताओं से जाने।
All right, now let me quickly cut across to our reporters joining us live from the protest site, Qutub Minar, Amit Bharadwaj as well as Shreya Chatterjee. Shreya, you're right in front of Qutub Minar. We saw hordes of the saffron-clad men being detained by the police. Their demand to change Qutub Minar's name to Vishnu Stamp. An appeal has also been made by the BJP chief, Mr. Gupta, to the NDMC, but has this been taken note of?
Well, no, Nabila, there hasn't been any official notice that has been taken of that letter that you are mentioning. However, the Hindu outfits like the United Hindu Front, which today over here protested, demanding the change of name of the Qutub Minar to Vishnu Stamp, took place, and they also wanted to chant the Hanuman Chalisa inside the Qutub Minar. And when they were not allowed, the Bhool Bulaya that is just behind this, that's exactly where you see they chanted the Hanuman Chalisa. But you know, it is important to highlight to our viewers that this is not the first time that we are seeing this demand of changing the name of Qutub Minar to Vishnu Stamp, because in 2018 the Hindu Mahasabha's Aligarh unit had also referred to the Qutub Minar as Vishnu Stamp in a calendar that they had released naming the Hindu calendar. We'd also seen the VHP referring to the Qutub Minar as Vishnu Stamp. So definitely this is a thing that they have been wanting for quite some time. But today definitely the United Hindu Front, they took to the streets and they wanted to chant Hanuman Chalisa inside the Qutub Minar. They say that there were Hindu mandirs, there were Jain mandirs that were destroyed, and now they demand that that should be renovated back. This named be Vishnu Stamp, and people should be allowed in for prayers. So that's the demand that they have kept forward, but Delhi police obviously have detained them.
Right, you know, I'm going to cut across to Amit Bharadwaj as well. Amit, you know, we saw how the saffron-clad men who were led by Adesh Gupta, the BJP Delhi chief, chanting Hanuman Chalisa inside the Qutub Minar until they were detained by the Delhi police. Did it become a commotion or a situation of law and order while the police arrived? Because we know this is a sensitive issue. While they chanted Hanuman Chalisa at the Qutub Minar, this was, of course, when the police arrived and dragged them out. What really happened?
Well, Nabila, you know, a group called United Hindu Front had given this call that they would come out in big numbers out inside the Qutub Minar, and then they would chant Hanuman Chalisa in the complex. And the idea behind this entire event or controversy was that United Hindu Front has been demanding that Qutub Minar should be named as Vishnu Stamp. However, the Delhi police was on its toe. It did not want any sort of controversy to snowball from here, and that is why all three lanes that leads to Qutub Minar were blocked, and barricades were put outside those lanes. So I'll just request Ankit to show you one of the ends of the road. You could see on your screen. The barricades have been put up by Delhi police, and paramilitary forces were called to the spot. There is anti-riot vehicle of the Delhi police placed in these lanes of Qutub Minar as well. On the other side is the Qutub Minar complex, where the Hindu United Front activists and leaders wanted to enter, chant Hanuman Chalisa, but they have been stopped. One more important fact,
I'm going to quickly come to you. Here's a big breaking news coming in on the Gyanvapi Mosque row. The hearing has just begun. Stay with us. I'm going to cut across to this big development coming in on the hearing that's just begun on Gyanvapi Mosque row. Mosque panel demands for removal of Commissioner Sringar Gauri, beg your pardon, wants the date for the mosque survey. Here's the hearing that's just begun on Gyanvapi Mosque row. The mosque panel demanding for removal of Commissioner Sringar Gauri wants a date for mosque survey. Mosque panel now demanding the removal of Commissioner, saying that he's been biased. Here is the Gyanvapi row. While the hearing has just begun, the Sringar Gauri side wanting the date for a mosque survey, while you have the mosque committee asking for the removal of the Commissioner Sringar. All right, it's now time for a short break. On the other side, we're going to take you through a special interview with Bollywood star Ranveer Singh and his upcoming film. Stay with us. in Ukraine is not going according to Putin's plan. And piling on to their woes are exploding Russian tanks because of a design flaw. This design flaw has already cost Russia 580 tanks already since they've started this war, invasion of Ukraine. Experts have now been calling this the jack-in-the-box effect. So what's this defect in Russian tanks that we're speaking of? The jack-in-the-box effect relates to how ammunition is stored in tanks. Unlike modern tanks, Russian tanks carry multiple shells within their turrets. Turrets are bolted to the upper ring and they can rotate a full 360 degrees. So when these turrets are hit, the shells or the ammunition which are inside them also explode. Once they explode, the turrets are blown off too. The explosions are so powerful that it's enough to blast the tank's turret as high as a 2-story building. This design flaw is not new. It existed even before. Western militaries first spotted this design flaw in Russian tanks during the Gulf Wars against Iraq in 1991 and in 2003. The Iraqi army was using Russian-made T-72 tanks which suffered the same fate. The design flaw was so obvious that even the West learned to compartmentalize the ammunition. Now, this is an old wound that Russia probably skipped reviewing. Is Russia's war on Ukraine really costing them a lot more than they'd imagined?
You are watching India Today.
Veer, welcome to India Today.
Thank you, India Today. Thank you for recently conferring me with a very special award. I'm very, very grateful. And most significantly, it is great to see you, my brother Tej. It's been a minute. What's going on?
It's been a while. It's been more than a while. I mean, I've been waiting for this chat for quite some time. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to jump in and talk to you about the fact that you finished over a decade.
Oh, yeah?
I remember watching Band Baja Barat and sending you a text. And you very sweetly have said, sir, thank you for this. Ranveer, at that point in time, when he started off, getting text messages from people in the industry, appreciating your work, to now, how has your definition of success changed? Has it changed?
The definition of success, it took me a while to define success for myself. In the middle, I had a definition of success, which was something I heard in a motivational audiobook. It was during Bajirao Mastani. I actually snapped my shoulder, fell off a horse trying to do a stunt. And I was really down in the dumps. So I needed some kind of motivation, you know. It was like, man, what is this? Biggest film of my life. I haven't even done one sword fighting scene and I don't have my right shoulder. It was shattering. So I used to listen to those audiobooks and there was one definition of success that really stuck with me. It said, success is measured by the beneficial footprint that you leave on society. You know, how much good can you do upon others? How much are you able to uplift others? And I think, even though that's 5-7 years ago, I think that's the one definition of success that resonates with me the most. Success is measured by the beneficial footprint you leave on society. Now, I feel like if you are able to serve and uplift others, the more of that you do, the more successful you can consider yourself.
You gave a very deep definition of success.
मैं हूँ यार deep, मैं privileged लगता हूँ, लेकिन हूँ बड़ा deep मैं.
Absolutely, and I think that insight into your thought process of processing everything is only something that Ranveer knows. I want to talk to you about when, as an actor, a film doesn't work, or when you think that, okay, the audience probably has not connected with this role or with this character. I'm just trying to get into your mind and understand on a Friday when figures come in, or when you realize that whatever the barometer might be, and if it doesn't reach that, how do you process it? Do you have a way of looking at it? Like in the case of 83. Now this obviously is a conversation that probably people have been asking you. What is your take on it? The film didn't do as people thought that it would do. I personally loved it. But what is your take on that?
It's funny you ask, because in the case of 83, I didn't even ask till like I don't know, maybe Saturday evening कि यार अरे हाँ यार numbers क्या थे? You know, I didn't even bother to ask. It was just, I was submerged at the time. Touchwood, I'm very grateful. I was submerged at the time because we started showing 83 to people well in advance. You know, from Monday, Tuesday onwards, we started showing the film. We were so proud of what we made. I'm so happy and excited to share it with people that we started from Monday, Tuesday, and therefore people started seeing it. You know, people started writing about it, and by Friday, I was submerged in what was nothing short of an avalanche of love and praise. Perhaps the most I've ever gotten for any film or any character. It was unprecedented for me. I've kept all of those messages at the risk of my phone getting overloaded. Just because anytime I need a little bit of a lift, I can just go back and read what people said to me at the time. Because it was not just the volume of messages. It was what they were saying in those messages. It was the language they were using, the emphatic and outpouring of feeling and emotion. It was palpable in each and every one of those messages, whether it was social media, messages, WhatsApps, Twitter, just about everywhere, you know. And I still have all of that in my heart, and all of that makes my heart glow. Now, I do understand that it was criticized by the trade for not having made as much money as it was projected to make. I think more than anything, right, so before anything, I would like to establish that it still made like 200 crores in the middle of the third wave, you know, which is not bad at all. That many people went to watch it in spite of the third wave spreading like wildfire across the world. It was just a case of unfortunate timing. You know, there were 2 releases in the week prior that did good business in their week, and literally 48 hours before the Friday of our release, key markets were shut down. Theaters in all these key markets were shut down, and these are key markets, like large chunks. If you really look at ki हिंदी फिल्मों का धंधा होता कहाँ है, these are key markets, these are chunks of 10% and this percent, and that was just like we were going in with half, you know, and it was just unfortunate. It's like 40, what you gonna do? We went ahead with the release. The film that was going to come literally a week later moved. So it was just a very bad time to release the movie. So therefore it didn't do the numbers. Also, it did decent numbers. It's just that it was a very expensive film. So perhaps a failing of budgeting, but then to tell such a, जैसे कहते हैं ना विशाल कहानी, in order to tell this kind of tale, in order to realize a film like this, you need that kind of budget. So perhaps it wasn't a profitable film in terms of just money, but I will tell you unequivocally, it is amongst my most loved films. There is unanimous love for that film, and I anticipate a long, long life. It's one of those everlasting films, you know. That is the kind of love. Now I've also spent 10 years in the business, you know. I know when X film comes out, what the response is. You can now gauge it. Or Y film comes out, you can gauge it. 83, in terms of love, acclaim, respect, and all of those things that matter to me personally more than money and box office, is tops. It's that literally at the top of the heap amongst my most loved films and performances. And I do understand that the producers would have hoped for more. But
fair enough.
Personally, I, as an artist, as an actor, I could not have asked for more.
Absolutely.
It's just been 83 is an absolutely crowning jewel in my filmography, and I've rewatched the film over and over again, and I can't get enough of it. I just love the movie. I'm very, very proud of it, and very proud of Kabir and what he made.
Absolutely, and that resonates with so many people.
ये कुछ फिल्में ऐसी होती हैं सब वो जिंदगी भर चलेगी. अगर आप I won't take the name of other films. Yes, in cinema there have been some of the most loved and cult films. I'll name one perhaps. Shawshank Redemption. didn't work at the box office, but it's probably considered to be one of the greatest films of all time. ऐसे होता है.
Correct.
अंदाज़ अपना अपना cult film. So oftentimes it happens that for whatever reason something doesn't work at the box office, theatrical धंधा नहीं होता है, but those films live forever.
Absolutely.
On the flip side of it, you have a film that makes 100 crores, 200 crores, but has no really lasting memory. Lots of it was hype, lots of people went to see it, but they came out saying not so nice things about it. It got footfalls and numbers and did that kind of business, sure. But what are people saying when they come out?
Right.
In the case of 83, there is unanimous love and it's a loved film.
It is.
और क्या चाहिए यार बंदे को?
और क्या चाहिए बंदे को जयेश भाई जोरदार के बारे में बात करनी है. I want to talk to you about Jayesh Bhai Jordar. The trailer, of course, has got all of us excited. You're playing a father in the film.
Yeah.
Has that got you the itch of also thinking of starting a family, because you've been so vocal about
it's not got to do with the film, but yeah, I mean, touch wood, my life is coming along. Career is on the right path. I feel my marriage was timed really nicely, and it's been a few years. So yeah, we're always talking about this life that we're sharing together, and we are always discussing and in conversation about how we want to mold our lives and lifestyles. So yeah, it's definitely in the conversation, but I think the fact that I'm playing a dad in this movie, I think that's a separate thing. But yeah, having said that, been married 3.5, 4 years now, and yeah, we're always in conversation about our lives and the way forward.
Absolutely, and I think you and Deepika keep it as real as it gets, and we love that.
It's all credit to her, man. I mean, she's literally one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met in my life. Her stability, her level-headedness, her strength, her depth, her sensitivity, her empathy, her compassion, and her ability to, like you said, keep it real. In spite of the stature that she commands as a consummate movie star, actor, I really have a deep admiration for her, because I see her public persona, and then on the flip side, I know her so intimately. She amazes me. She really never ceases to amaze me. She's the best thing that ever happened to me.
If this isn't love, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, I'm really missing her. She's been busy shooting Pathaan. I've been busy shooting Rocky Rani. But now she's helping me cultivate more of a work-life balance. Make it a point to make the time to spend the time together. So that's now coming into my life and lifestyle, and I'm really grateful to her for giving me that nudge to her in the right direction. One, it is, I feel now, important to have a work-life balance, and I have more of it, all thanks to her, and I'm very grateful to her for that.
Yes, and you should embrace it. And for someone who also knows what's happening in the industry, it's not that you keep a tap on everything, but there is this whole conversation going on right now about South films and their impact on Bollywood, and also the language concept. The fact that there was this recent conversation where Ajay sent out a tweet, and Kicha Sudeep obviously responded to that in Hindi is the national language, and then there are South languages also. Films are being dubbed in both languages. There are Hindi films that have an audience in the South market, and there are South films which are being remade or dubbed in the Hindi-speaking languages. Given the recent success of Pushpa, RRR, and KGF, as a cinegoer or just as an audience and also as an actor, what is your take on these two things? One is the language debate that is going on, and second is this whole influx of regional films coming to Bollywood.
Taking the first part of your question, the language part of it, I feel like a story should be potent enough that it transcends these boundaries of language. If you look at the example of Parasite, it won all these Oscars, at the highest level. What is considered to be the highest level, the Oscars. And it was a subtitled film, and it was made by a Korean director in Korea, and it went, and in the time that it was made, was considered the best film. I watched it. Did you watch it?
Yes.
There you go. So you see how content just travels now. There are no boundaries. I believe Narcos, though I haven't been a follower of the show, but I understand it's an extremely popular show. I believe it's in Spanish.
Yes.
Right? Money Heist as well. So it's in the Korean language, in the Spanish language. People all over the world are consuming content, entertainment, pieces of work that have transcended this boundary, you know, and that the content speaks for itself. When you have a potent story rendered in a spectacular way, it will transcend boundaries, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I have seen Pushpa, I loved it. I have seen KGF Part 1, haven't seen Part 2 yet, I'm dying to see it. I loved KGF Part 1. I am a huge fan of the work that these guys are doing. Allu Arjun, rocking star Yash. I saw RRR in the theatre. I had the good fortune and privilege of seeing it in the theatre. It blew my brains. These are amazing movies, and I'm so happy that they are doing so well and have found audiences all over the world. I find the technical aspects of those films very solid. I find them very, very impressive, and I'm really happy that it's happening. And the logic works both ways, right? Tomorrow there'll be a Hindi film that will do the same kind of. I'm sure this conversation is really more on the business side of things. So I'm sure there'll be a Hindi movie that will do those kind of numbers, you know, like our films have done impressive numbers in other markets that you didn't expect. You know, Amir Khan's films do well, like in China, for instance. It's really about the story. It's about whether it touches your heart, whether it gives you that mind-blowing cinematic experience. Those will speak regardless of language and region and stuff. Like, these are boundaries that you know, like cinema has that power to transcend the boundaries. Sport has that power to transcend boundaries. Music has the power to transcend that boundary. For instance, I think one of my favorite songs of the recent past is Oo Wantawa Mama. I go mad when it plays, but I don't really understand. But that music has that, it touches me, does something to me, you know, so why not? And like I said, the logic works both ways. Tomorrow, you know, a film like, let's say, Dangal or something will go and do, you know, great business. And why, I feel like, why is that considered to be regional cinema?
Correct.
This is also, these films made in the Hindi language work in certain regions, and therefore they can also be termed as regional.
Correct.
You know, so...
would you be open to doing a film in a different language if it comes to you?
I'm dying to do it, first of all, in English, which is like my second language. I work predominantly in Hindi, but I would love to do something in English. I can't speak Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam, but I would love to. I keep talking to my peers and colleagues, and I keep asking them how they work in different languages. Like Pooja, I did a movie with Pooja Hegde recently, and I was trying to understand that process of how, you know, how do you do it. Deepika right now is doing Nag Ashwin's film with Prabhas, which is in multiple languages, which is so exciting. And I try and understand. So I want to learn. And I think I personally, I've always seen it as Indian cinema, and I'm very proud of the diversity that we have in our country. I think it's definitive of our nation. Even when I go abroad and I meet new people, and you know, I'm trying to give them context to me and who I am and where I come from and what I do. I met, on my recent travels, I've met some really, really eminent people from all walks of life, from sports, arts, politics. And I find that one of the first things that I say to them about myself is that I come from a country that is the most diverse country in the world.
Yes.
In terms of its culture, cuisine, language, geography, just about everything. And I feel like I'm somebody who celebrates that diversity. You know, that's what makes our country so beautiful, is that we have this diversity and that we celebrate it. And when these movies do well, I feel extremely happy because it all contributes to Indian cinema,
Yes.
which is how I've always viewed it. You know, I always see it as Hindi, not as Hindi cinema, but as Indian cinema. So I'm very, very happy, and honestly, one thing that impresses me the most is the technical ability.
Yeah.
I think in terms of shot taking, cinematography, background music, editing. Now, I'm a person of cinema, so when I see these things, I can't help but break it down and analyze it. Man, technically, the technicians that are working in Hyderabad and in Chennai and stuff, man, bomb stuff. There's so much to learn and so much to share. So yeah, I'm thrilled about it. I am very proud that a film like Bahubali comes and, you know, for Indian cinema, breaks the barrier. You know, it's like the most watched or the most revered film. When box offices become such an important part of the movies. At the end of the day, I do understand it's commercial art, it's a business at the end of the day. So when you have a film that comes and redefines the number game,
Yes.
you know, when B2 came out, it was like films used to only earn that much. It went and it shattered that ceiling. It created a whole new range of possibilities. What's not to celebrate in that? You know, I don't look upon myself as the other. It's not them and us. I look at it as one. I've collaborated with some of the my counterparts, in actors from like Mahesh Babu, and I watched Dhanush, Allu Arjun, Ram Charan, Tarak, Mahesh Babu. I'm a great admirer of their craft. I think one of my favorite movies of all time is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. They're all people who work in Chennai. Mr. Mani Ratnam, Mr. A.R. Rahman, legends. I mean, Nayakan, Talapati, Rahman and his whole body of work. He's divinity, you know. So yeah, I have a huge amount of love and respect and reverence because and I never see it as the other. I see it as one. That's really.
It's not them versus us. Perfect.
Yeah, that's all of it.
And my final note is, one thing that struck me the most when I saw the trailer for Jayesh Bhai is the fact that how we take your versatility for granted. Like when I saw that trailer and it took me back in time to just revisit all of your work, this guy can do anything. Give him physical stuff to do, he does it. Give him mental stuff to do, he does it. Give him conditions that he's braved odds against, whether it's falling sick or almost damaging yourself. You've done it sure for the love of cinema and the craft that you possess. What can fans expect from Jayesh Bhai Jordar, and how sweet is this film and how close is it to your heart?
Yeah, Jayesh Bhai is something new, and that's what attracted me in a large way to the material, is that this is something I haven't done before, like we shot the film, the pandemic happened, and then about a year later, after having been in another zone altogether, I watched the film, and I'm like, man, ye to ekdam naya hai. Yeah, I'm not seeing myself do these expressions in any movie. This kind of character, I always thought कुछ नया है, कुछ नया करने को मिलेगा, वो अपॉर्चुनिटी है यहाँ पे, एंड दैट्स व्हाट अट्रैक्टेड मी इन अ लार्ज वे टू द मटेरियल. बट व्हेन आई सॉ इट आई वाज लाइक वाह यार, मतलब 10 साल के बाद भी, इतनी फिल्में करने के बाद भी आप ऐसे you're still rendering and putting out stuff that we've never ever done before, which I was pleased to see that, and for once I gave myself a pat on the back, which is rare. I'm very very critical of my work, so when I saw it I was like yaar ye bahut acha hai. So I think Jayesh Bhai it's a film with a good heart, you know, and it makes you laugh, and it makes you cry, and it gives you a message at the same time that I really hope I really hope that this film resonates with people, because it's a story that has to be told. It speaks of these pertinent societal ills like domestic violence, feticide, infanticide, mental abuse, emotional abuse, patriarchy, dowry. All of these themes are all a part of it, but yet, because it's tragic humor, it's rendered in this entertaining way where you're laughing at all this that is happening. But what is actually the theme? You are laughing. It's Chaplin-esque in that way, yes. You know, tragic humor. कि जो हो रहा है वो बहुत दुख वाली बात है, पर आप हंसे जा रहे हो, तो तब जब बारी आती है आपकी रोने की, तो आप फूट के रोते हो, which is what happened to me in the narration. So it's that kind of film, and at the same time, like I've always been a huge admirer of Rajkumar Hirani's films, you know. He deals, like Three Idiots, for example, one of my favorite movies of all time, is really dealing with suicide. Yes. But it's a film and pressure that students go through and young people go through, and the themes are based on societal ills that are plaguing society, yet rendered in the most entertaining package. I don't think I've laughed so much in a movie and then cried so much in a movie, and the message that he always embeds within his narrative always lands on you. So I've always wanted to be a part of that kind of cinema, you know. Here I had the opportunity, and Divyang is a really new and sensational directorial talent, and yeah, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I'm very happy with the way the film is shaped up, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Absolutely, I think a new Ranveer.
हंसाती है, रुलाती है और कुछ सिखा भी जाती है, और क्या चाहिए?
बस सब कुछ तो है इसमें, और क्या चाहिए?
और क्या चाहिए?
कितने greedy हो गए आप?
हाँ यार.
On that note, I think I am excited to watch Jayesh Bhai Jordar. For somebody who's been there with you from Band Baja Bharat, I'm so excited to see your take on your love for this craft. All the very best.
जबरदस्त होगी.
And we will see you soon.
देखना ज़रूर और बताना ज़रूर.
पक्का, वो तो हम करेंगे.
Thank you, sir.
Love it only.
Teach, great to see you, bro.
Battery swapping was a real game changer and is a real game changer as we go into other markets, large-scale markets.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
Watching India Today.
Very good afternoon. You're watching India Today with me, Nabila Jamal, taking you through the top news. First, the headlines. Kashmir Files maker Vivek Agnihotri hits back at Congress's Shashi Tharoor for allegedly mocking genocide of Pandits. Reminds him that his late wife Sunanda Pushkar was a Kashmiri Pandit too. ISI's Lead Punjab plot unmasked. Pakistan's spy agency forms Lashkar-e-Khalsa terror group to foment trouble. Khalistani terrorist Pannu issues an open threat to Himachal Chief Minister. Saffron protest at Delhi's Qutub Minar for changing its name to Vishnu Stump. BJP wants roads of capital named after Mughal rulers to be changed. Kashmir's butcher who confessed to killing Pandits on India Today cameras goes on a 32-year... In fact, while his trial begins after 32 years after the genocide, Bitta Karate's interview with India Today now becomes the key trial evidence.
आपने कितने लोगों की जानें ली?
I just got harder.
यानी आपने इतने सारे लोग मार डाले कि आपको ये भी नहीं याद कि आपने कितने लोग मार डाले?
10-12 हमारे होंगे।
10-12 की 20?
अब 20 ही हमारे।
Sri Lanka descends into total chaos. Home of several lawmakers set on fire by angry protesters. 5 dead, over 200 injured. Curfew imposed. Army deployed in Colombo. And Santur Mistro Pandit Shivkumar Sharma passes away at the age of 84 due to cardiac arrest. Prime Minister Modi mourns the loss, says cultural world is now poorer after his demise. Now, updates from the Supreme Court sedition case hearing. Supreme Court asked the centre if it can request all states not to take action under S124A while the government is reconsidering the provisions. The SG says we'll have to consult with the government. Supreme Court suggests the centre to complete the task of reconsideration of sedition law within 3 to 4 months. Supreme Court has asked the centre why it doesn't direct the state governments that the matter under 124A to be kept in abeyance until the centre finishes this process. Anisha Mathur joining us for more on this. Anisha, the sedition law debate rages on as now the centre is taking up the hearing on this. The Supreme Court, we believe, has asked the centre to hold off implementing Section 124A and direct state governments also that this matter is under consideration.
Well, Nabila, the Supreme Court has suggested that this could be one of the things that can be done at the moment. So now, the breaking news that just happened while you were speaking to me is that the Supreme Court has given time to the Solicitor General to get instructions from the government by tomorrow morning on what can be done about the pending cases and how the government will take care of the future cases till such time as it reconsiders the sedition law itself. So this is a big breaking that has come. The court has said that yes, we will give time to you to reconsider the sedition law. We will not hear this matter at the moment. But because this issue of currently pending cases is an important matter, you tell us what are you going to do about the persons who are already booked or have been arrested already. How are you going to handle these cases? A suggestion has also come from the court that till such time as the matter is reconsidered by the government, it could suggest to the state government that the sedition law provisions will not be implemented. They will be kept in abeyance, that there should not be any further FIRs and the cases that are pending will not be prosecuted. But at the moment, this is not an order from the court. This is simply a suggestion. And the court is, as I speak to you, still hearing arguments from the Solicitor General and the senior advocates on behalf of the petitioners.
All right, thank you, Anisha, for joining us with those details. Supreme Court now asking the centre to direct states not to take action under Section 124A. Meanwhile, the Karnataka Azan loudspeaker row only escalates with the Karnataka Chief Minister holding a meeting with the Home Department officials. A decision has now been arrived upon on the use of loudspeakers in the state, as use of loudspeakers now must obtain permissions in the next 15 days. A letter has been written by the Chief Secretary to the Additional Chief Secretary, Environment, on ensuring that court orders on loudspeakers are followed. Those who don't obtain permission should remove voluntarily. The committee shall be formed to decide on the application of loudspeakers. Nolan Pinto joining us live more on that. Nolan, give us an understanding on the Karnataka government's decision on loudspeakers. We believe that a 15-day ultimatum has been given, either comply or pull down.
Well, in fact, let me just read out verbatim what they have stated. They said that those who do not obtain should voluntarily remove or should be removed by the designated authority. So basically, they've given them 15 days time. They say that those who have loudspeakers or utilize loudspeakers or public address systems must go to the designated authorities. And they've also explained who are the designated authorities. So it can be different. In police commissionerate areas, it's the police additional commissioner, you have the police jurisdictional executive engineers, and in those areas where you have the DYSP, you have certain rules. So they have actually told who has to be contacted, how they have to do so, and 15 days time has been given. Now, Nabila, we have seen what really happened in the past few days. Early in the morning, the Bajrang Dal activists came about with the Suprabhata. They started to use the loudspeakers. They say that since the government was actually not doing anything as such, they had no option but to resort to this action. And yesterday, this is dated the 9th of May, the meeting took place over there, and they have come about with this particular, we can't say order
right
as of now, but with these particular rules and regulations that need to be followed in the next 15 days by everyone.
But Nolan, for what we hear is that concerned people have not yet received this notice as yet. The notice has been written, or rather the letter has been already framed, but it needs to be issued and needs to reach the concerned departments, and that the wait is on for that. Let me cut across to S. Prakash Nolan. Stay with us. S. Prakash, BJP spokesperson, joining us on the phone line. Mr. Prakash, a 15-day ultimatum that the Karnataka Chief Minister Bommai has given to all usage of loudspeakers. Does that mean it covers mosques, temples, and even private usage of loudspeakers?
The rule of the law is being enforced in Karnataka. This act was there about 20 years back. Subsequently, 2005, it was also, once again, even Supreme Court gave its judgment to observe that particular decibel level while using the loudspeakers. It was not implemented. Now it is implemented across the state for all the religious functions and religious institutions, and also, as you said, public functions also. We should not look at it in a communal angle, and rule of the law is being enforced in the state.
All right, stay with us. I'm going to cut across to Mr. Kalapa. Brijesh Kalapa is also joining us on the phone line. Mr. Kalapa, as part of the Congress party, you, of course, under your governance, this issue had not come up. But it seems like now we're looking at aggrieved parties, mostly from the right-wing groups, Hindu right-wing groups, who are demanding that a Supreme Court order be implemented. And their standpoint is valid. Undoubtedly, this is a Supreme Court's order. Why should this not be done?
No, we have no, we have no grievance with the fact that this order is being implemented. That is not the issue. Issue is this, that there is a hijab issue which comes up. Then there's a halal jatka issue. Then whether Muslims can actually sell their stuff around the temples. Then this is a fourth issue now coming one after the other, one after the other. So if I think India Today feels that this is the end of it, I think you're mistaken. Because till the elections, the BJP is going to raise one communal issue after the other so that they can benefit from it during an election. So this is the reason these issues are coming up. What is the timing of these issues? I think it's very important to see that. When Azan is being practiced for the last, I think, since 1924, people have been going to court on Azan. But why is it now that these people are raising this issue? Only for this reason, that let it help us during an election. So then what they do is if they press a button, then Sri Ram Sena comes up and the Bajrang Dal comes up and they create all kinds of...
But Mr. Kalapa, Supreme Court's order is old. Had you implemented it, maybe this situation wouldn't have risen. One could accuse the Congress party of also playing appeasement politics.
No, I think that's an extremely, ridiculous argument for this reason, that these issues never crop up when there is Congress. Because Congress always believes in harmony, pluralism, and so on and so forth. So these issues never come up. Who's raising these issues? Like I said, these are sister organizations of the BJP, RSS. So that's the reason why these issues come up.
Whether this is RSS or backed with a motive, it has a legal standpoint. It is a Supreme Court's order that needs to be complied with. And of course, the BJP accusing the Congress of giving this a communal color.
No, see, the point is this, that insofar as the Congress party is concerned, we have been in governance for a long time. So also as the BJP, from 2008 till 2013, they were in power. What did they do then? Do they have any explanation? The only explanation anybody can possibly give is that there are elections in 23.
Right. Let me ask that to Mr. Prakash. S. Prakash, an allegation that this is all an election gimmick, one after the other. There are controversies brewing in the state of Karnataka, which never saw this kind of communal polarization to such an extent, starting with hijab, halal, azan, loudspeakers, Muslim traders, boycott. This is an election gimmick entirely orchestrated by the BJP.
No, Mr. Brijesh Kalapa is a learned Supreme Court advocate. How can he say they are implementing their judgment by the Supreme Court is illegal and communal? I don't understand at all. And moreover, hijab issue was not raised by the BJP or any Hindu organization. It is those students who raised it. Halal, it was only campaigned by the several Hindu organizations, and BJP has nothing to do with it. They only said don't eat halal. Those who are not Muslims, don't take halal. By Jatka, how does it matter for Mr. Brijesh Kalapa if somebody says you stick to your religious belief and let them stick to their religious belief? It is the problem with the Congress party. They are unable to take a neutral stand. They don't want to stand on the right side of the law or against the or for the rules. This is opposition leader Mr. D.K. Hariprasad reciting Hanuman Chalisa are called terrorists. This is the strong opinion they hold on the majority community. Congress party is always against the Hindus, and now it is now being reflected very brazenly.
Mr. Kalappa, this is has been a constant accusation against the Congress that the Congress party has largely been against the Hindus. Appeasement politics, appeasing the minorities has been your main agenda for vote bank, and in the melee have ignored the majority sentiment.
No, I think that again a ridiculous argument for this reason that 90% of the Congress party is Hindu. So why would anybody, in which a party is 90% Hindu, why would they be against the majority community? So you see, ultimately the point is this, that for this reason that, you know, the BJP has no other argument. They keep saying the vote bank politics. So what is the BJP doing today? Is it not vote bank politics trying to harness the Hindu vote, right? Now, on each issue that the BJP is saying, ultimately people are now facing the brunt of their maladministration. Karnataka has become a 40% government. On every issue, on every scale, the Karnataka government is asking for 40%. Even from Swamiji.
You're being accused, BJP is being accused of diversionary tactics. Y'all are ignoring the real issues. Many allegations of your government taking commission of 30-40%, but that's being sidelined and brushed under the carpet. Communal issues have been, highlighted to such an extent only to hide the shortcomings within your government.
This is a pathetic argument put out by the Congress party. They are the main opposition here. Who has stopped them from raising the issues against the government? He is accepting they have failed to convince the people that all the charges they have so far made. We don't need any cover-up for our governance. We are very happy that a good governance is being given by our Chief Minister, Mr. Battaraja Bommai. If they have any problem with it, let them go to the people and educate. Why do they come and complain here? And here, these Azan issue also is not raised by the Bharatiya Janata Party. It has nothing to do with it. Several Hindu organizations raising. The government has only...
but these Hindu organizations have been given much credibility and literally the wind beneath their wings. That's what the BJP has done to most of the Hindu right-wing groups. You all have given them so much credibility and liberty.
Does it mean that all these days the rule of law was not implemented? Leverage was given to the minorities to have a free run on all the things, and no respect for constitution, no respect for court, and no respect for rule of law? Is that the argument can be put forth? It is not against the Muslim or Hindus or any other community. This rule applicable to everyone concerned.
Right. Mr. Kalappa, a quick word on if you will support the ban on loudspeakers illegally placed, and will you also coax many of those mosques to bring it down to decibel levels, if not pull it down completely?
Now, of course, decibel levels must be maintained. Insofar as illegal loudspeakers are concerned, even during Ganesh Chaturthi we face this problem. Even during Kannada Rajyotsava we face this problem. So this is something which, as a citizen, everybody should comply with. And everybody should agree that this is a nuisance and it's a harassment.
What is the problem?
So the problem is that you're only targeting one community. That's the problem. And ultimately your politics has not gone beyond that. You started in 1980 targeting one community. Gorwalkar targeted one community. Now you're doing exactly the same thing after so many years. I wish you came up with a new paradigm. Yeah, something about real governance. Something about, increasing the exports in the country, making the state of Karnataka #1 in the country. But that is not the case. You want to make it in #1 in terms of communal polarization. That's the problem.
All right, Mr. Kalappa, Mr. Prakash, really appreciate your time. Of course, this issue has only escalated in Karnataka. Karnataka, of course, is seeing heightened polarization ahead of elections, right, about 11 months away in the state. But nonetheless, this is a Supreme Court order. Loudspeakers must adhere to decibel levels that has been prescribed. And Bombay now gives a 15-day ultimatum. All right, here's a big breaking news coming in on the Supreme Court stance to the centre with regards to sedition law. The Supreme Court to the centre says to clear the stand on sedition as soon as possible. The sedition law, the centre's stance on it must be cleared within 3 to 4 months. Supreme Court asks, what about pending and future cases? The Supreme Court says to the centre, and I quote, "Can law be kept in abeyance?" Next hearing on the sedition law tomorrow. Remember, there have been several arrests that have been made under sedition law, under the sedition charges. And now the Supreme Court asking, in the first place, what is the centre stance? And the centre stance must be clear on sedition law, at least in the next 3 to 4 months. But in the meanwhile, what happens to the future cases and pending cases, many of them who have been booked under sedition charges? The Supreme Court asking the centre, can law be kept in abeyance? Now, the court has adjourned the hearing until tomorrow. Let me cut across to Anisha for more on that. Anisha, please elaborate.
Well, Rabina, these are very, very crucial questions that have been asked by the Supreme Court now. Remember, the court has taken note of the centre stance that we will be reconsidering the sedition law. The Solicitor General clearly saying that the government is serious about this, that the executive is looking into this, that the legislature will have to be brought into this. But noting the fact that this is going to take quite some time, it will take at least 3 to 4 months for any outcome of this reconsideration, the court has asked a very important question. What about those people who have already been booked or are facing charges of sedition? What about those who could be booked in the time that it takes for the government to conduct its exercise of reconsideration? And that is what the Solicitor General has now been asked to clarify by tomorrow morning. The CJI has, one of the suggestions that came from the bench was that Section 124 could be kept in abeyance. And the government of India, the Home Ministry, could send an advisory to all the states and union territories that till such time that the centre can reconsider this sedition law, this provision should be kept in abeyance, that no arrests or FIRs under this law should be imposed. But at the moment, the court has not passed any orders. It has only asked the centre to make it stand clear on these two questions. What about the pending cases? What about the future cases? And this is going to be a very crucial hearing tomorrow, as the centre will have to clarify what happens now to the current law while it debates on any changes into it.
Anisha, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Of course, our top focus will be tomorrow on the Supreme Court's hearing on sedition law and the government stance on it, and whether or not this law can be kept in abeyance. Now, cutting across to this big chorus that's echoing right in the national capital over name change of historical sites that have been named after Mughal rulers and sultans. Right-wing groups that were led by Adesh Gupta, who's the BJP chief of Delhi, in fact, landed up right at the Qutub Minar, sat down in protest, demanding that the name of Qutub Minar be changed to Vishnu Stump, saying that the original structure by Hindu kings were razed. Protesters chanted Hanuman Chalisa inside the Qutub Minar and Hindu religious text right at the protest site. Several of the protesters there were detained by the Delhi police. BJP, meanwhile, has pushed for changing of roads' names after Mughal rulers. In fact, we're looking at several roads that fall right in the national capital, which the BJP, led by Adesh Gupta, this protest, demanding that roads of Akbar Road, particularly Humayun Road, Aurangzeb Lane, Tughlaq Lane, all of these lanes and roads which fall in the heart of Delhi city need to be changed with immediate effect. A letter has been shot to the NDMC as well, seeking changes to these names that were given during the Mughal era.
One more monument and one more demand to rename it. Qutub Minar should now be renamed as Vishnu Stamp. This is what Hindu right-wing organizations are now demanding. We'll ask them what is it that they want from the government and why do they want the renaming of the iconic Qutub Minar. आपकी जो मांग है वो है कि विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए पुनः, क्योंकि अगर पुनः घोषित नहीं करेंगे तो हम लोग इसी तरह आगे आके आंदोलन करते रहेंगे, हनुमान चालीसा की बात चलती रहेगी। आप क्या प्रधानमंत्री को भी चिट्ठी लिखेंगे? बिल्कुल, प्रधानमंत्री के पास भी विज्ञप्ति लेके जा रहे हैं हम और उनको आज सौंपेंगे। So this is what these people are saying. They want Qutub Minar to be renamed as Vishnu Stamp. The protest that you see behind me, the saffron flags that you are seeing being raised very close to the Qutub Minar, just 500 meters from the iconic monument. Chants are being raised to rename Qutub Minar as Vishnu Stamp. Banners have been put up.
धर्मेंद्र बेदी यूनाइटेड हिंदू फ्रंट दिल्ली का अध्यक्ष, हमारी ये मांग है जो अंदर विष्णु स्तंभ है उसको विष्णु स्तंभ घोषित किया जाए, उसके अंदर जो निजी मूर्तियां दबी हुई हैं उन मूर्तियों को निकाला जाए जो अंदर खंडित मूर्तियां हैं, उन मूर्तियों को भी विधिवत तरीके से हिंदू मूर्तियों को स्थापित किया जाए। जो बाहर बोर्ड लगा हुआ है शाही जैन मंदिरों को तोड़कर कुतुब मीनार को बनाया, ये कुतुब मीनार नहीं है। इतिहास में बच्चों को गलत पढ़ाया जा रहा है। ये विक्रमादित्य ने इसका निर्माण किया था, विष्णु स्तंभ के नाम से इसकी घोषणा की जाए। और दूसरी बात,
what it should be called as is Vishnu Stamp. In fact, what these the protesters at the moment are claiming is that there are many idols, many Hindu idols inside Qutub Minar. Everything should be brought out and the name should be changed to Vishnu Stamp. With camera person Kripal Singh, this is Shwara Paliwal reporting for India Today.
आज हमने जो पत्र लिखा है उसमें हमने मांग की कि औरंगजेब रोड, जिसका नाम पहले से ही डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम रोड रख दिया गया है, औरंगजेब लेन जो बची हुई है उसका नाम डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम लेन होना चाहिए। जो अकबर रोड है वो महाराणा प्रताप जी के नाम होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अकबर हमारे देश के लिए कभी आइडियल नहीं हो सकते। बिपिन रावत, उनके नाम पर भी एक सड़क का नाम इस लुटियन जोन के अंदर रखा जाए, ताकि आने वाली पीढ़ियां और ये जनरेशन भारत को भारत के वीरों से जाने, ना कि विदेशी आक्रांताओं से जाने।
यहाँ पर जितने भी देवी देवताओं की मूर्तियां मिली तो कहीं ना कहीं उस सनातन की जो वो थी वो सबको तोड़ मोड़ के कहीं ना कहीं मैनिपुलेट करा गया है। तो अब ये बीड़ा उठाया है सभी संत समाज ने, विद्युत समाज ने, कि हम अपनी मांग को मंगवा कर रहेंगे। चाहे कोर्ट में विचाराधीन केस हो, हम किसी भी व्यक्ति विशेष को हानि नहीं पहुंचाना चाहते, उनके आस्थाओं के साथ खेलना नहीं चाहते, या हम किसी को कोई दुख हो, मगर हम ये चाहते हैं कि जो मेरा प्यारा देश, जो मेरा सनातन की परंपराएं थी वो दोबारा से लौटे, वो खुशहाली दोबारा से लौटे। तो इसी को लेकर हमने ये बीड़ा उठाया है।
मुगलों के वक्त में असासे बने हुए हैं, मस्जिदें बनी हुई हैं, किले बने हुए हैं, ताजमहल बना हुआ है, उनको बिगाड़ना चाहते हैं, उनके पीछे पड़े हुए हैं। इससे कुछ हासिल नहीं होगा। ये हिंदू मुस्लिम को लड़ाना चाहते हैं, आपस में झगड़ा कराना चाहते हैं। अगर इनमें दम है तो ताजमहल जैसे, जो इस किस्म के हमारे पुराने लाल किले जैसे, तो उनको मंदिर बना के दिखा देते, तो देखते हैं कितने लोग इस मुल्क के अंदर आएंगे इस मुल्क को देखने के लिए।
First of all, Qutubuddin Aibak was not Mughal. I think you said it as a Mughal monument. He was not a Mughal. Point two, that we have been fed myths and history for 70 years, and real history has been continuously called fables and myths. What stops us from doing a thorough archaeological research on all the sites which have a huge presence of Hindu symbols, Hindu iconography? Just a few days back, you saw the pictures in Qutub Minar of Ganpati being upside down in a caged place. So definitely, and the mosque there is made of 27 broken Jain Hindu depositors on record. These are all Islamic evidence. And which country in the world celebrates invaders? Tell me, which country, self-respecting country across the world celebrates invaders?
Now, the controversial film Kashmir Files, directed by Vivek Agnihotri, is once again in the eye of the storm. Mocking the BJP over heaping praises for the film, Congress MP Shashi Tharoor quoted a news article that stated that the movie was banned in Singapore. A big showdown has escalated when the director of the film, Vivek Agnihotri, hit back at the Congress MP, asking him to stop making a joke of Kashmiri Pandit genocide. He further said that Tharoor's late wife, Sunanda Pushkar, was a Kashmiri Pandit herself and that he must show some sensitivity towards her. Lead actor of the film, Anupam Kher, also hit out at Tharoor over a tweet claiming that Tharoor's callousness towards Kashmiri Hindu genocide was tragic. The film, which released on March 11, sparked a massive debate among political parties. Makers of the film have been accused of playing fast and loose with facts and portraying a villainized image of Indian Muslims.
This is the tweet which is made after the direction of Congress High Command. Because Congress party has hand in gloves with anti-national forces. This Congress leader Shashi Tharoor came in shelter of anti-nationals. This is very unfortunate that Congress party is dancing on the tone of anti-national forces.
Who presents himself as a champion of free speech, freedom of expression, liberal values,
But here they are celebrating, quite hypocritically, a ban on a film that has the courage to expose the truth that took place 32 long years ago. There's also competition in this entire ecosystem, be it the Congress party or the Aam Aadmi party, as to who can mock the plight of Kashmiri Hindus more. On one hand, Aam Aadmi party gets up in assembly and mocks them and laughs at their pain. On the other hand, the Congress party is in a celebratory mode when the film is banned in Singapore. The same film has been released in many destinations, many places without any cuts, and it has done spectacularly well in India as well.
जो पार्टी वैसे तो अभिव्यक्ति की आज़ादी की बात करती है, फ्रीडम ऑफ प्रेस की बात करती है, फ्रीडम ऑफ आइडियाज़ की बात करती है, वो एक फिल्म अगर बैन होती है उसका वो स्वागत करते हैं किस्म का। तो स्पष्ट है कि उनको इस बात से दिक्कत है कि जो सच विवेक अग्निहोत्री ने अपने पिक्चर में दिखाया, कश्मीरी पंडितों की जो प्लाइट दिखाई, जो उनकी वेदना दिखाई, उससे इनको दिक्कत हो रही है। इनको सिंगापुर की सरकार को क्रिटिसाइज करना चाहिए था अभिव्यक्ति की आज़ादी पर, ये उनका समर्थन कर रहे हैं। तो ये कांग्रेस की नीति है और विवेक अग्निहोत्री अगर उस पर प्रश्न उठा तो ठीक उठा रहे हैं।
It's okay for Mr. Shashi Tharoor to have a point of view on the film Kashmir Files. But there is a larger question that as a member of parliament and a senior leader of the Congress party that he must answer to. After all, the Congress was in government for almost 6 odd years in the 1990s and then 10 years. Did the persecution of Kashmiri Pandits happen or not? If they happened, what was the glorious action of the Congress party through all those years that it was in government? They may have a problem with a portrayal, but on the other hand, don't they feel the pain of the Kashmiri Hindus and Pandits who were persecuted, murdered, raped and thrown out of the valley?
Now, this is indeed a big day for probe into Kashmiri Pandit genocide in the 1990s. The trial into murder of one of the first Kashmiri Pandits to be slaughtered by Islamist terrorists begins today in Srinagar. Satish Tiku was allegedly killed by alleged butcher of Kashmir Valley, Bitta Karate, Farooq Ahmad Dar. Bitta Karate had confessed to mass murder of Kashmiri Hindus on India Today program News Track. The video that comes from India Today's News Track interview is now going to be placed as crucial evidence before the Srinagar court in the case. Victim's family filed a new application through advocate Utsav Bains and supported by activist Vikas Raina to place on record Bitta Karate's shocking video confession that the first Kashmiri Pandit that he murdered was Satish Tiku.
आपने कितने लोगों की जानें ली? यानी आपने इतने सारे लोग मार डाले कि आपको ये भी नहीं याद कि आपने कितने लोग मार डाले?
10-12 हम मारे होंगे।
10-12 की 20?
अब 20 ही
सारे के सारे कश्मीरी पंडित थे कि कोई मुसलमान भी थे उसमें? कितने मुस्लिम, कितने कश्मीरी पंडित थे? ज़्यादा कश्मीरी पंडित थे?
जी।
क्यों? ऐसा क्यों?
ऊपर से ऑर्डर मिलता था।
अच्छा, पहला जिस आदमी को पहले आपने जान से मारा वो कौन था?
पहला मर्डर मैंने सतीश को मारा। सतीश कौन? सतीश कुमार टिक्कू।
कौन था ये?
मुझे ऊपर से मतलब ऑर्डर दिया गया कि उसको हिट करो, मैंने किया।
कौन था ये?
पंडित लड़का।
हमेशा पिस्टल से ही मारते थे या AK-47 से भी मारते थे?
AK-47 से हम सिक्योरिटी वालों पर एक्शन फायरिंग करते थे।
अच्छा, और जब किसी एक आदमी को मारना होता था तो पिस्टल से? तो अकेले जाते थे कि 2-3 आदमी साथ होते थे?
मैक्सिमम मैं अकेला जाता था।
तो नकाब पहनी होती थी आपने?
नकाब के बगैर।
यानी लोग आपको देखते थे कि आप हैं जो जान से मार रहे हैं किसी को?
जी।
लोग पहचानते थे आपको? तो लोगों ने आपको पुलिस के हवाले नहीं किया?
नहीं।
इसका मतलब
लोग साथ देते थे।
अच्छा, कभी ऐसा हुआ कि आपने जिस आदमी को मारना चाहा, आपने कोशिश की लेकिन आप फेल कर गए?
नहीं।
जब भी आपने कोशिश की सफल हुए?
जी, सफल हुए। मैं जिधर निशाना चाहता था लगा उधर बराबर पहुंच जाता।
जब भी आप किसी का मर्डर करते थे तो क्या हमेशा इशफाक मजीद वानी का ऑर्डर होता था तब करते थे या अपनी मर्जी से भी कर सकते थे?
नहीं, अपनी मर्जी से मैं किसी को नहीं मारता था। ऊपर से ऑर्डर मिलता था, लीडर ऑर्डर देते थे कि
अच्छा, ऑर्डर दे किसी को मार दो, आप मार देते थे?
हाँ जी।
चाहे वो कोई भी हो? अगर वो कहता कि अपने सगे भाई को जान से मार डालो?
जी, मैं मार देता।
अगर वो कहता अपनी माँ को जान से मार डालो?
मैं मार देता।
तो ये तो गुलामी से भी बदतर हालत हो गई आपकी।
नहीं, गुलामी कहाँ? मैंने कहा ना, पहले हम जब ज्वाइन करता है कोई लड़का, ज्वाइन होने से पहले वो हाल उठवाते हैं, ये काम है जी। अगर नहीं है तो आप जा सकते हैं।
All right, coming up on the other side of short break, Khalistani groups now rush to claim role for the Mohali grenade attack. More details being uncovered on this grenade strike in Punjab's Mohali. Up next.
are watching India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171.
Killer robots sound like something out of a science fiction horror film, but advances in technology mean that fully autonomous weapons could one day become a reality, transforming warfare. Autonomous weapons, which use artificial intelligence to select targets, are already being developed, aimed at reducing cost and risk to human soldiers, while increasing speed and efficiency in action. Unlike drones, which are operated by humans, killer robots would have some autonomous decision-making ability and capacity to act. Fully autonomous weapons will be capable of acting without any human intervention. They have been described as the third revolution in warfare after gunpowder and nuclear arms. Some of the world's most prominent scientists believe that fully autonomous weapons pose an unacceptable threat to humanity and could trigger an artificial intelligence arms race. In April 2013, a group of non-governmental organizations launched the Campaign to Stop Killer Robots, an international coalition working to ban fully autonomous weapons. The International Committee for Robot Arms Control, meanwhile, campaigns for the peaceful use of robotics and regulation of robot weapons.
Watching India Today.
All right, now Punjab is on high alert after a rocket-propelled grenade hit police intelligence wing headquarters in Mohali last evening. A day after the attack, banned Khalistani outfits leader Pannu has issued a threat message to Himachal Chief Minister, warning that he must take a lesson from Mohali attack. Pannu's father said that this attack could have taken place even in Shimla police headquarters. Pannu's warning comes after Khalistani flag was seen hanging at Himachal Assembly Gate on Sunday. Not just banned Sikh outfits Pannu, there's proof now of ISI's hand in Punjab terror surge. Sources tell India Today that ISI had its Burn Punjab strategy ready. ISI has come up with Lashkar-e-Khalsa terror outfit to create more tensions in Punjab. NIA team visited the spot to take stock, gather evidence. The investigation is on in Mohali grenade attack to see if at all this is terror attack, but clearly now increasingly looking like one.
कल जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है यहाँ पर इंटेलिजेंस हेडक्वार्टर में, उसको लेके आज हमने एक मीटिंग की है। इंटेलिजेंस के ऑफिसर हैं और जिला पुलिस के एसएसपी साहब और डीआईजी साहब। इस केस को फेस करने के लिए हम लोग पूरे एफर्ट्स कर रहे हैं। हमारे पास लीड हैं और जल्दी ही हम इस केस को सॉल्व कर लेंगे।
कल रात जो मोहाली ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਟਨਾ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਡੀਜੀਪੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਅਫਸਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਸਾਰਾ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਨਿਕਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਵੀ ਗਈਆਂ, ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਜੜਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹੀ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਰੀਏ ਕਿ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਉਹ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਊਗਾ। ਸਖਤ ਤੋਂ ਸਖਤ ਸਜ਼ਾ ਮਿਲੂਗੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਈ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਣਗੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੱਸਦਾ ਵਸਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੋੜਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ सख्त तो सख्त सजा मिलेगी।
कि जब कल धमाका हुआ था आपने भी सुना
बिल्कुल सुनिया जी। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਅਸਮਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਡਿੱਗੀ ਹੈ। ਕੋਈ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 7:30 ਤੋਂ ਪੌਣੇ 8 ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ।
ये पुलिस आई आपके पास भी आई थी सीसीटीवी फुटेज को खंगालने के लिए?
हाँ बिल्कुल आई थी। तो पुलिस ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਸਵੇਰ ਦੀ ਲੱਗੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਤਲਾਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਕਾਰਵਾਈ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਈ ਹੈ।
Now, politics has erupted over attack on Punjab Police Intel office in Mohali. While condemning the attack, opposition leaders took on the Mann government for Intel failure. Punjab Congress drew parallels to militancy, slamming the Mann government, saying that the history is repeating itself. Congress leader Manish Tiwari has said that it's unfortunate to see all this started once again. Former Punjab Home Minister and Congress MLA Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa dubbed the explosion as a sign of deep communalism. Shiromani Akali Dal chief Sukhbir Singh Badal has said that the attack exposed serious security lapses and highlighted once again the deteriorating law and order situation in Punjab. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann has, however, said that strict action with this regard will be taken. Attackers will not be spared.
जैसे आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार आई, जो घटनाएं हम जम्मू कश्मीर के पूंछ में और राजौरी में सुनते थे कभी, जो अब बंद हो गई हैं ऑलमोस्ट, वो पंजाब में मोर्टार दागे जा रहे हैं। और जिस बिल्डिंग पे दागे जा रहे हैं वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बिल्डिंग है। वहां से बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट और लोगों को मतलब एक जो ऐसी गोपनीय चीजें होती हैं उस जगह पे मोर्टार दागे गए हैं। ये तो इसकी चिंता अगर आज नहीं करेगा, देश नहीं करेगा, पंजाब नहीं करेगा, दिल्ली नहीं करेगी, तो इन लोगों का जो चेहरा दिख रहा है अरविंद केजरीवाल जी का, वो तो बहुत ही कुरूप और भयानक चेहरा दिखा रहे हैं, जो देश के लिए सुरक्षा से जुड़ी चीजों के लिए बड़ा खतरा है।
पंजाब में मोहाली ब्लास्ट नफरत फैलाने की और डर फैलाने की एक कोशिश है। आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार, भगवंत मान जी की सरकार पंजाब का अमन चैन कायम करने के लिए पूरी तरीके से प्रतिबद्ध है। और जो भी पंजाब का अमन चैन और शांति बिगाड़ने की कोशिश करेगा, शांति भंग करने की कोशिश करेगा, उसकी जगह जेल के सीखों के पीछे है।
बीजेपी के नेताओं को भी ये कहना चाहूँगा कि आप पंजाब के अंदर माहौल को ख़राब करने की कोशिश ना करें। आपके माहौल ख़राब करने से पंजाब के अंदर लोगों का अमन शांति जो है उस पर असर पड़ता है। छोटी राजनीति के चक्कर में इस तरीके की माहौल ख़राब करने वाली चीज़ें नहीं करनी चाहिए। जिस भी संगठन ने मोहाली वाले हमले के अंदर अपनी भूमिका दी है, उनके ऊपर सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी, जिस तरह से पटियाला के अंदर सख्त कार्रवाई की गई।
All right, coming up on the other side of a short break, Sri Lanka descends into total chaos. Curfew has been imposed. Army deployed in Colombo. More details up next. Stay with us.
You are watching India Today.
You have the lightning, you have the TikTok music, you have snacks, you have all the things we like. You don't have like 90s the 90s era or 80s era. You have the 2020 era, and I think that's good. it is a big part of our society today, so why not try to make it more creative? I mean, here you find a place for children. Maybe all children aren't interested in going to a museum of history or art, but this is a place where they can come to like a museum-like space at least and be creative. Here you can take cool pictures, create cool content for like your Instagram or your Facebook, or if you do TikToks, it's the perfect place to do TikToks.
The Ukraine-Russia crisis is ongoing after a month. Russia confirmed that it had fired a new hypersonic missile during bombing raids in the city of Mariupol. But what are hypersonic weapons? How do they attack the target? Considered the next generation of weapons, these missiles are characterized by their ability to travel at speeds of more than Mach 5, or 5 times the speed of sound. There are two types, the hypersonic cruise missile and the hypersonic glider. The latter is carried by a ballistic missile. The glider separates from its missile to reach the upper atmosphere above 50 kilometers. Then it hovers at hypersonic speed towards its target along an unpredictable trajectory. Anti-missile or anti-aircraft defense systems. Without propulsion, it gradually decelerates and can perform evasive actions such as zigzags to reach its target by thwarting opponent interception systems. The cruise missile, meanwhile, has its own propulsion in the form of a ramjet with supersonic combustion. Once in flight, the missile moves at high speed before diving onto its target. This missile flies at a lower altitude than the glider at around 20 to 30 kilometers and can maneuver in full flight, which is its advantage.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
Watching You are watching India Today.
Now, the Sri Lankan crisis deepens on Monday, pushing the country to a new brink of civil war. Homes of several sitting and former ministers, members of the parliament and mayors have been set on fire by protesters. The house of Sri Lanka's former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who put in his papers yesterday, was also set on fire. Rajapaksa left his official residence, Temple Trees, early this morning after military cleared the protesters from the site. In fact, the government has imposed a nationwide curfew until Wednesday. Despite the curfew being in effect, anti-government protests have been lined up along the streets leading to the international airport in an attempt to block any ministers leaving the country. 7 people are dead and over 222 are presently seeking treatment for injuries from yesterday's clashes. One ruling party MP was killed during this protest. Pressure is now on the president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, to resign after the resignation of his brother came in. Sri Lanka has been propelled into a crisis over decades of economic mismanagement, which only worsened under the control of the Rajapaksas. Now, Sri Lanka has over $4 billion of foreign debt, with its foreign reserves completely depleted.
Sri Lanka protesters are still out on the road. They are in full force and they're demanding that the president step down as well as this government to go home. So things haven't eased up at all. If not, it's just more tense. We have more angry protesters on the road. Security has been heightened as well throughout Colombo. And I'm told that there are so many protesters who have lined up close to, the airport, who are preventing people from checking vehicles to see if there are ruling members of this government who are trying to flee the country. So things are very much unstable and very tense right now.
Now, former Sri Lankan cabinet minister and cricket captain Arjun Ranatunga exclusively spoke to India Today's Ashutosh Mishra pertaining to this ongoing crisis. Arjun has claimed that the issue started and was staged by the Rajapaksa government.
What is the situation that you are seeing in Colombo, in the island country?
I think it was a highly unwanted situation created by the Prime Minister who resigned yesterday. These protesters, these peaceful protesters have been protesting for almost 1 month without any violence. I think we all like the way they handle things. And unfortunately, last morning, President has invited some of his party supporters, MPs, ministers, and there were a fairly big crowd came to the temple trees, that is the Prime Minister's office and the home, and they started talking about it. And unfortunately, it came to a stage where they were provoked by some of the ministers, even the Prime Minister, and that is where the incident started. These people who were supposed to be after alcohol went towards almost like a kilometer, maybe 1.5 kilometers from the temple trees to the protest area, that is at the golf face. And they started attacking the innocent people, innocent protesters. And they started attacking the ladies, the priests, the people who were innocently protesting. They started attacking. That is where the entire country walked into the roads and started this particular issue. Ultimately, the president, after that, he left, but he left put fire into the entire country. I think he and the ministers who provoked these people should take the blame on this issue.
Mr. Ranatunga, I would recall that in the last month when I visited Colombo, in the interview you had anticipated there could be some foul play, some mischief by the state actors or the non-state actors where they could disrupt the peaceful protest. Now, do you see it was a design, it was done at the behest of the government, or you see it was the spontaneous reaction, the clashes between supporters and the protesters?
No, it was properly planned. I think the president has requested the Prime Minister to step down last afternoon. Before that, he got his supporters, who are the provincial council, town council, MPs, who were government loyalty politicians. And they were the ones who came into this particular meeting. And from there, they created them to go into the protest area. Even some of the ministers walked into the protest area. That is where it didn't go right. I think this is where this entire issue started. When the president wanted the Prime Minister to step down, Prime Minister brought his most of the supporters and asked them whether he should resign. Then everyone said not to resign. So it was all planned things organized by some of the ministers who has ruined this country and started provoking them to go into the unwanted area. And I'll tell you something else. I blame the police and the forces for that as well. They could have easily stopped them coming into the protest area. We have seen a lot of protests happening near the parliament. They started attacking water guns, and even tear gas was attacked. But this particular thing, they allowed them to walk towards them. I think it was a highly planned thing. And I blame the police, I blame the forces. They should have easily stopped this thing. This entire thing was planned by most probably the government, but supported by the police and the forces as well.
All right, coming up right after a short break, saffron protests at Delhi's Qutub Minar for changing its name to Vishnu Stamp. More details up next. Stay with us.
are watching India Today.
The South African scientists who identified Omicron late last year have now reported two more Omicron subvariants, BA4 and BA5,